Yes, boy. I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once.
Of all the days to not have my cart wall ready.
As I ever was. Ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages, welcome in the Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. The Friday morning edition is underway right now. How do you do? Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. What up, world? Yeehaw! Great to be with you on a Friday morning. Hope that you are exceptionally well. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of the broadcast. Thanks for being a part of our morning and allowing us to be a part of yours. I am going to tell you right now.
Can you say she says I'm cute?
What?
Say she says I'm cute.
Why am I saying this?
Just say it.
Why am I saying this?
Because
Lonzo, I was in a fraternity. I don't do anything until I know why I'm doing it.
If you don't get the line, then you don't get how you sound right now.
I clearly don't.
All right.
What am I missing here?
Trying to think of another line. I am not just a misfit. You gotta
listen. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm real slow today.
Rudolph.
All right?
Rudolph. You sound like Rudolph. Okay. All right. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. When they put that thing on his nose and he talked like
no,
this.
I don't.
You do kind of have that a little bit this morning. We all have this with the weather changing back and forth.
It is absolutely and entirely kicking my right now.
So it was him. Told you he'd be on here if it was him.
Killing me right now. Yeah. Got the chance to meet our buddy Kevin, P1 from the stream last night.
Is he exactly what you thought he would look like?
Yes and no. I'm gonna tell you right now, real good beard. Real good beard. He's got like the straight down, real good beard. Kevin was very nice, came up and said hello last night. And to answer your question, Kev, Alabama was real good for being in their mid-70s. I got to tell you, my guy Ronnie not making it.
Trey done got him an Alabama trucker hat.
So did I. Trey, did you get the red one? Did you get the red one? Because I got the red one. I got to tell you, it was real hard.
Red is not. I don't recall you wearing red too much.
It's honestly, it's a crimson. It's a deep crimson.
I'm trying to figure out what it matches in your repertoire.
I got a lot of red. I just don't ever break it out.
Okay. All right.
But Trey, I got the same hat. Listen, it was good, man. It was good. They were real good. They were, they're.
Were they 1975 good?
No, God, no.
Okay. I'm just curious.
Absolutely not. Randy was doing his best to get around the stage. Let's just say he does not have a 4.40. All right. There was a lot of shuffle steps involved for Randy Owen last night.
Hey, we all get older. Do they still have decent vocals though? Because that's what one of the things they're known for. I mean,
they had their spots.
Okay, all right.
They had their spots. There was some good. There was some not so good.
But
at the end of the day, I feel like if you go see a band in their mid-70s on tour, you go in with and this is what the fiance and I talked about. You are not going to see the best version of themselves. You're just going to be able to say, I saw Alabama.
Yeah, I think that's a rationale that a lot of people don't have when they go to see. It's like, I finally get to go see them. And then they go and then they get disappointed that they don't sound like they used to sound like. And if I didn't see the band in their heyday, and it's been more than like 25 or 30 years, probably not going to go because it's not going to be what you expect in your head.
I like to be able to say I saw Alabama. Now, I think, and when the Madre wakes up later and starts listening to the show, I'll check in with her and find out. I want to say I know I saw Randy Owen on a solo gig like a very long time ago. I saw Randy Owen on a solo gig when I was young because my dad was a big Alabama guy. That's part of the appeal for me. I want to say I saw Alabama when I was very young, but like I did not appreciate it at the time. And now I get to say I've seen what's left of Alabama. And again, like The reality is, if you went in expecting them to sound like they sounded in 1975, you were gonna be disappointed. But that's not why I went. I wasn't going to see a Hall of Fame caliber band. I was going to see a band that's in the Country Music Hall of Fame, and that's exactly what they were.
All right. Trey on the stream says the first song had me looking at the people on the soundboard and thinking, fix this.
Yeah, I mean, again, like it wasn't. Now, I will tell you this.
I mean, there are expectations, I think, for a lot of people. Oh, they're going to sound like they've always sounded. And there are some vocalists who can still hit it when they get that old. But for the most part, you listen, you can hear the shake in their voice and things like that.
Yeah, dude is 70. I think he's 73 at this point. Yeah, he's 73 years old. He was born in 1949. Like, I don't expect him to go up there and dominate a microphone.
He'd look at me and say, I'm a youngin'.
Yes, correct. I didn't expect him to dominate a mic, but at the same time, I did not go there to see 1975 Alabama. If that's what I wanted to hear, I'd click on Spotify. I went just to be able to say, okay, I saw Alabama, and I saw Alabama. I was happy with it.
Was the crowd louder than the people on the stage singing?
Let me set you up with a quick story. There is a
I have social media.
There is a chant that the Alabama Crimson Tide fans do.
Oh, you didn't do it, did
surrounded by the song Dixieland Delight. And the chant includes a loving message to Auburn, LSU, and Tennessee too. And when they got to that song, now I told you guys yesterday, the fiance comes from Bama stock. Her mom's a Bama fan. Her stepdad's a Georgia fan. So she's a Gamecock. So there's a lot of SEC contingencies built into the fam.
Because it just means more.
It just means more. And so when we were driving to the show, her mom came with us, right? We took her mom to go see Alabama. And so her mom came with us last night. And when we were on the drive there, obviously, I don't know about you guys, when I'm going to see a band play, like I listen to that band pretty much all that day, right? So we're listening to Alabama on the drive to go see Alabama.
That sounds like a mistake in this case, because
not at all.
Because again, you're hearing what they used to sound like, and then now instead of if you go there dry, then you don't have those comparisons. You're comparing to a memory, not to recency.
I was not dry at this show. So we're listening on the way in, and as we get on as we're waiting to get into the well, on comes Dixieland Delight.
It didn't rain last night.
And so we're sitting in the car, and Dixieland Delight comes on, and we're waiting to turn into the parking lot at the well, and it gets to that part. Spend my dollar, roll tide part. All right. And the fiance, who again comes from a mom who loved Alabama, even though she's a Gamecock, starts doing that. And I'm like, hey, ma'am, I'm going to need you to not do that in public. I'm going to need you to not say Auburn and LSU and Tennessee too in public for me, if you don't mind. And she's like, why? It's just having fun. And I'm like, well, like I didn't go there, but my family's all from LSU. I got a little soft spot for them. And also, I don't want to be seen in public with you doing the Bama chant that loud. All right? She's like, are you afraid I'm going to say in public? And I'm like, no, I could not give less of a if you say that in public. I don't care. All right? Bad words don't mean anything to me. I don't care. Have at. What I don't want is somebody in the crowd to be like, hey, that's Rob Brown and his fiance. Oh, she's an Alabama fan. That's what I don't want. But of course, when they hit that song, wouldn't you know it, suddenly half the Palmetto State are Alabama fans. They were loud as heck doing that chant.
So it might as well have been an AEW crowd, a chance to curse.
No, it might as well have been an Alabama fan, an Alabama crowd. If you have not been in Bryant-Denny Stadium in the fourth quarter when they play Dixieland Delight and 80,000 people scream Auburn, I don't know what to tell you. But it was good. It was good. It was good for a band fronted by multiple 75-year-old men. All right. It just was what it was.
Hey, look at his hair. Look at his hair. And that's frustration right there. Look at that. It's just that's a guy's like, man, I don't even care.
I have to tell you, I'm starting to take it personal on behalf of Bryce.
No,
Young.
fix your hair, dude.
I feel like
no,
yes,
fix your hair.
You just got done getting your ass kicked for 60 minutes. Be concerned about. Could you imagine Lonzo's reaction?
You never see an NBA player do that.
Could you imagine?
Stop with your stop thing.
Could you imagine if Bryce Young came out to the presser 5 minutes late and he was like, "Sorry guys, I had to fix my hair before I come out here." You'd eat him up for that.
No,
he can't win to you.
It wouldn't take you 5 minutes to just pat down those strands that are.
Yes. Okay. All right. Yes, it would.
It would not take five. It would not take 5 minutes. No, it wouldn't. You take your phone out like most people do and go, "Oh, I'm getting ready to go in public." Yeah, I know.
You think that's how that? You think that's how that works?
No, his hair needed to look like that after that game.
Yes, it did.
It absolutely did.
Yes, it did. Listen, and let's be clear, because obviously we're coming to this here in a minute. Bryce Young was bad again.
Is he related? Are the pictures? So I can make fun of anybody else, but I can't make fun of Bryce Young.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying
because I'm still going to make fun of Bryce Young.
I know you are. I'm saying you are relentless against this cat, unlike anybody else.
You know why?
You make more fun of Bryce Young than anyone else ever that I've heard since I started working with you.
You know why? I have never seen you defend somebody on a team that you don't care about more than anybody else, and I'm trying to figure it out. So I'm going to keep coming at him till I figure out why in the world you're defending him like you are.
Here's the problem.
You don't defend Kyler Murray that way, and I make fun of him too. You don't. You do not defend him that way. I've been able to make fun of Kyler Murray for a while because he ain't been playing.
I have explained it to you. You just don't like the explanation, so therefore you're like, no, that's not it.
I'm sure people got no reason. Okay, no reason.
Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, he's relentless. He is a bulldog on Bryce Young's rear end, and I don't get it. I don't get it. I have explained to you. Listen, Bryce Young was bad last night. He was missing throws last night. And I am now, and this is not.
It's hard for Terrace Marshall to do anything with the balls like way up there. It's like, come on, dude.
I am at the point, and this is as sincere as I get. And we're going to talk about this in the next segment. I am at the point now where I am genuinely concerned that the psychological damage being done to Bryce Young by playing on this team is getting to where it is going to be irreconcilable.
All right, that was my point about the hair. Okay, I was making fun of it, but he looks like someone who plays for the Panthers and has had that kind of season. You're taking it way too what you just said is what he looks like. That was my point.
He is. I am convinced we are at a massive crossroads here for this football team, because there comes a point where the psyche of a person can be situationally damaged beyond repair. I am terrified.
I'll stop.
Not mine.
Okay.
You can't do it to an idiot. That's the good news. I am terrified that the psychological damage being done. This is not a joke. I know there are some people like, oh, this fun. I'm being deadly serious right now. I am terrified that the psychological damage being done to Bryce Young by playing on this team is impacting his physical ability to perform, which makes the team worse, which makes it that much more damaging to him.
Is it David Carr? Which was the first Carr brother?
David.
Yeah, it's that thing.
Derek Carr's the first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, that's right. He plays for that other team. So that was when he had so much promise when he came out. He's got beat up so much to the point where it broke him. He had PTSD to the point where he was just out there looking jittery and just he couldn't do what he did before he got there. It was unsettling.
I must break him. Yes, that's it. I am terrified that the psychological damage being done is irreconcilable to save Bryce Young from the Panthers. And because of the way that impacts a QB, the blame's going to be heaped on him.
And see, my concern is there's an overinflated sense that this guy was the guy to come in, and he was not the guy to come in and do what he's doing. This is a guy who needed to sit for a year or two, not a guy who needed to be out on the field right away, because he wasn't going to make a difference this season. So it would have been better to start Andy Dalton for the entire season, let him work his way into how things are done in the NFL. Then you don't break him. Were the Panthers, I mean, even though I had high expectations, I'm a fan. That's why I have those expectations. But realistically, with the rest of the team, were the Panthers going to be that good? No, they were not. So if this is your future, and you talk about this being your future, you protect your future. You don't put them out there like this, and it's probably too late.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to talk about this. When we come back, the Panthers drop a 16-13 decision on the road at Chicago last night, a game they had multiple chances to win, and the game they just could not. Please, somebody explain to me why on 1st and 10 and you need 9 yards to get inside your kicker's range, you throw the ball 3 times with a quarterback who's not completing passes, and then trot out your kicker for a 59-yarder on a windy, cold night in Chicago, Illinois. The coaching decisions by this team are... And we're going to talk about that and more. We'll talk Carolina when we come back. Rob Lonzo, the Rob Brown Show rolls on. It is the Fan Upstate.
Cables.
All right, guys, quick live read right here. Stay right there. We'll be right back. All right. Thank y'all for hanging out, fellas and ladies. Good morning. Skrilla, happy Friday, my guy.
Since my honest assessment of Mr. Young bothers you, from this day forward, I will sit back and I will be quiet and allow you to give all the excuses as to why
Excuse, he
it's not
sucked
his
last
fault.
I'm just saying, you are bulldogging this kid.
Really? Does he hear it?
I mean, yes, Frank Reich listens to the show. Obviously. That's not true. Frank Reich does not listen to the show. If he did, he would know ball.
If Bryce Young were sitting in front of me, I would tell him, listen, no matter how high you make your hair, you're still 5'10". That's what I would tell him.
Oh. Bring it on. Bring it to. Bring it up here early. Let's get loud, man. Yeah, man. Let's go. What is that?
That was a coach. This is Penn State hype video trying to get everybody to be there. The coach gave the signs at the end. It said, "This is the sign for be there, be early, and be loud." That was Manny Diaz who did that, by the way. Wow. Jumba. There he is. That's what you do when you're short. Look. That's what you do. Okay? That's what you do. And you notice he pulled the point up just a little bit. I guess that's a fashion thing. I guess.
So anti-BY, he is telling him to take lessons from Kyler Murray.
Or is that when people walk by, because he's so short, people walk by and I grab the top of his hat. So that's why that little bit is up there.
So let me start with this. Lonzo, I didn't watch a damn second of that game live last night. Not a second.
And see, I did.
Now, I am a big believer, and I've stated this before. I am a big believer that if you don't watch ball, you can't know ball. I do not believe you can do this job and not watch the games. I've worked with hosts in the past. We're like, hey, you just gotta watch the highlights. Nah, you need to watch the games because the story of the game is told in the snaps that don't make it onto the highlight reel.
Very true. Very, very true.
The story of the game are the 3rd and 3s that are not on the highlight reel because the offense ran, a pull to the right and didn't get it. And it doesn't show up on a highlight reel.
Or Terrace Marshall is wide open and Bryce.
BY spikes it 5 yards short.
Yeah, that's being generous.
So I didn't watch this game live because I knew it was going to be an absolute boat show.
See, I want to tell you, I thought the game was fairly entertaining. So I think when you put teams that are pretty much on the equal footing, sometimes they can have an okay game.
Again, I don't know.
Could have been worse. Could have been 0 versus 0. I mean,
Yeah. Again, I don't know.
It was an amazing defensive struggle last night on both sides, seeing how good the defenses played and made the opposite offense inept because neither of these stellar quarterbacks had time to get the ball out because there was someone in their face every time. I wish that was the case. Bryce actually had some time last night, and I saw some signs of things that you have talked about. There were a couple of times when he had a good pocket and he sat in there and his feet were moving like I still say he needs to do all the time. He was busy in the pocket, but no one was open. A couple third downs, he ran for first downs because there was an open window for him. And whether you think he's fragile or not, he should do that more because that's going to cause defenses to be concerned about that. And maybe that opens up some more things for him later on. But when you do have open receivers, which is rare, when you do, you've got to hit them. If you are that good of a quarterback, and you should be, you're in the NFL. If there's a wide open receiver, you've got to hit it. This score, by the way, would have been a whole lot worse if Justin Fields were there because there were guys, including DJ, running wide open down the field that the quarterback didn't see, that Bajan didn't see. And they pointed that out in the broadcast. Look, he's wide. I mean, they're down there all by himself, like waving your hand, and he doesn't see it because this dude started out as the fourth-string quarterback. Now he's the starter. And even though he was really good in D2, this is the NFL. And whether you think Justin Fields is a good quarterback or not, he would have hit those guys. And this would have been a rout.
And
you know whose fault that is? That's not Bryce Young's fault. That's the defense's fault. Shouldn't be people running wide open. Should not.
So a few thoughts on your thoughts. I'm going to start with, I don't know how bad it got. Like I said, I watched a lot of the highlights. I went to the show last night. I got home from the show last night. My phone pinged. Oh, it's a close game alert. It's a one-score game going into the fourth quarter. And I was like, I'm going to just go to bed. That was my decision. I'm going to just go to bed. It was like 10:30. I was like, I'm going to go to bed.
That was a good move to just go to bed.
So I got up this morning. I had the highlights on while I was getting ready for work. So I'm not going to lie. I was kind of like half watching them, half getting ready for work. I was late to work this AM, I'll admit openly and publicly. Because my plan ordinarily is I get here between 4 and 4:20. And I've got 3 computer monitors, and whenever I need to watch, whether it's wrestling or a game from the last night or highlight clips or, I've got a YouTube show that runs me through all the NBA games from the night before, whatever it was. I put that on the bottom screen, and I'll watch through that while I get ready for work. I didn't have time to do that. So I've only seen some of the highlights, some of the YouTube clips from different highlight generators that I watch. So I got a few thoughts based on what I've seen. Number one is this. Bryce Young missed a lot of throws last night. That's obvious. The value for us is figuring out why. Does Bryce Young miss a lot of throws because Bryce Young can't make throws? And I would argue it's going to be real difficult to convince me that Bryce Young, a national champion, Bryce Young, a Heisman Trophy winner, and yes, before one of you fires off that super smart guy tweet that, Rob, a lot of Heisman Trophy guys have flamed out. I'm aware. But Bryce Young
You could almost say most, I think.
I don't know if I'd go most, but I'd say a lot for sure. But Bryce Young didn't win the Heisman by being uber athletic like Lamar Jackson or Tim Tebow. Bryce Young won the Heisman by being a really good traditional quarterback. And granted, at the college level, he had a stupid amount of talent around him at the wide receiver position, Devontae, etc. Stupid amount of position, but so do a lot of other guys.
By the way, I take it back. I think it's probably half and half as far as Heisman Trophy winners doing well in the NFL, because I'm looking at the list and some of them did do really well.
We'll come back to that because I'm curious about that. But as far as BY goes, BY didn't win the Heisman because he ran all over everybody. He ran the Heisman because he was a damn good passing quarterback at the college football level in, at the time, the toughest conference in America, the Southeastern Conference. It's not this year, but at the time it was. So there's not a valid reason for him to get 9 weeks into the NFL season and now he just can't hit an open guy anymore, right? Now, maybe it's the yips. Ugh, we don't like that. Don't like that word. The yips is a bleep-worthy word around athletes. Nobody likes to talk about the yips. Maybe it's the yips.
But here's the problem with the yips. Usually they come with some frustration, some emotion that can be seen. And they were pointing out last night that the coaching staff, everyone says he's just a flat line as far as emotion goes. I think maybe it would seem like it's bothering him more if he actually looked a little frustrated. And he just has the same look on his face all the time. And there are some people like that, but it doesn't translate well. If you're a fan of a team and you see a guy like, yeah, I just threw a pick six. Oh, well. Ooh, I just threw a touchdown.
You know
oh, well.
Really I
want to see something out of the guy.
Like Cam Newton used to, and then got his ass kicked on social media because he had the audacity of looking upset after bad plays.
All right. I'm talking about me. I'm not talking about anybody else. I never got upset with him about that. I like emotion in football. My point is, if Rob Brown has a bad day, we know it. Okay. If Kyler Murray has a bad day, we know it. If Bryce Young has a bad day, we don't. So we don't know what it looks like. Does he really consider he had a bad day? That's the thing.
So Bryce Young, there's multiple possibilities as to why all of a sudden he can't hit guys that are open. Number one is the yips. He lost it. And as somebody who is a big golf guy, I can tell you the yips are real. And when you catch the yips, they can be hard, if not impossible, to shake. It's a real thing where suddenly you're out there and in the big moment, your body just removes your ability to do a thing you've been doing your whole life. Do I suspect that is the case? No, because we've seen BY drop some real good football so far this year. The second thing that can happen, and I don't know that I'm ready to fully commit to this, but I'm getting close. The other thing that can happen is that you are under assault so frequently that it becomes the default setting for you, right? You'd like a quarterback to be able to take a snap and be comfortable in the pocket, and then when there is a successful pass rush, feel that pressure and escape. Get to the outside, step up in the pocket, drop back in the pocket, roll out, whatever it might be. But if you are facing a successful pass rush more than you're not, you are taking the snap and you are feeling pressure whether it's there or not. And so now all of a sudden, even though there's a clean pocket and you've got a receiver crossing on a 7-yard route that's open, you don't feel like, because more often than you don't, you have the ability to drive off the back foot and deliver the football. And if you're underthrowing the ball, and again, haven't watched it, but from what I saw on social media this morning, Bryce Young was underthrowing guys a lot, right? Consistent underthrowing means you've got a quarterback who is not planting the back foot and powering through the football.
I need to interrupt here. It had nothing to do with that. He's afraid of throwing pick sixes. You could tell. He threw at people's feet because those people that he was throwing at short had a guy on them. And you could see that, in my opinion, it looked like he was worried he was going to throw another pick six. So he was throwing the ball low to a guy that was covered. And he did that several times. And I think it's more worried about the pick six than actually worried about trying to complete the pass.
And that's a logical possibility.
How many quarterbacks in the NFL or otherwise those 2 pick sixes in a game? That's got to mess with you, especially whether we can tell or not, when you're on a team that's not doing well and you throw 2 pick sixes in a game and another interception, you come out the next game, you're going to be a little tentative. unless you're that guy, got that dog in you, got that whatever you want to call it, where you're like, screw it, that was last week. Let me go out and do my thing this week. And it looked like it was in his head some, and he was worried about that. And on the other side, that guy did the same thing because he had thrown several interceptions the week before. And that's both of them were tentative. And you could see that.
I don't see how, again, you may be correct. It may be fear. It may be fear because he got double pick 6 last week. And then what happened? The entire week, it was, this is BY's fault. This is BY's fault. This is Bryce's fault. This is Bryce's fault. Y'all, I went back and diagnosed that screen pass pick 6. That was not on Bryce Young. Yeah, it's going to look like it's on Bryce Young. It was not on Bryce Young. That was on a running back who was supposed to be in the back pocket of his offensive lineman who just stopped. And so the pass sailed. Now, maybe there is some element of fear from Bryce Young because he does not want to throw another pick 6 because he then spent a week being told, this is your fault, you're trash dog. And he doesn't want to do that again. And why wouldn't you? A pick 6 is the number one mistake that you can make as a quarterback. So trying to avoid that mistake, you might overcompensate. Overcompensating is a rookie thing to do. I think one of the biggest situations or one of the biggest issues we're dealing with here is people are forgetting, because he was the number one overall draft pick, that he is still a rookie. He is still a first-year guy who's played 8 games, right? So that's not me letting him off the hook for mistakes. But the reality is, as I said on this show multiple times on Monday, the world is not black and white. The world operates in shades of gray. There is no black and white. Everything's a shade of gray. And the shades of gray in this conversation are that Bryce Young looks bad. I'm not going to argue that. BY was missing throws last night. I've seen a couple of them. Haven't watched the whole game. I'm about to. BY looked bad. But the conversation doesn't end with BY looks bad. There are reasons for that. Maybe some of them are his own reasons. Maybe some of them are not. There are reasons for that. When you are, as I pointed out, under assault behind a garbage offensive line, then under assault becomes the default. And you treat every play as if you were under assault. And so now all of the sudden, because the norm is snap, 1.5, gotta get rid of the football before I die, then when you have a clean pocket, you don't give yourself the time to set, find your target, get onto the back foot, load up into the leg, and power through it to throw a good
By
football.
the way, he had that time plenty of time, more so last night than any game this year.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying even when you have that time, because of the fact that you are so used to not having the time, it becomes the default standard operating procedure for you. Your brain has been taught, if I keep the ball for 2.5 seconds, I'm going to get massacred. So I have 1.5 seconds to find a target and a half second to deliver the football. And if that means I've got to sacrifice the integrity of the technique, the integrity of the throw to get rid of the ball, that's just what's got to happen. There is some element of that. The fact that, with the exception of a game this year, there has been zero help from the run game. Zero help from the run game. He had one game where the run game was effective. Well, guess what? If I'm Chicago and I know the run game's effective, how many rushing yards they have last night? 42? 42 rushing yards last night with a fully healthy running back staple. I think Miles Sanders had -2 rushing yards last night.
I was going to say, and Bryce Young contributed to that, I think. I don't know with sacks if he was, I don't recall a sack. I know he got a couple third down runs for like 5 or 6 yards a piece. So I didn't look and see what his yards were, but I think he might have contributed to that.
When he is getting, when his offensive line is getting destroyed, when he has a running game behind him that got 43 yards, including -5 from Miles Sanders, your leading rusher was Chuba Hubbard 23 yards on 9 carries. Now, that's not all on the running backs. That's on the offensive line as well. But when you're getting 43 NFL rushing yards out of your NFL running backs in your NFL offensive line and an NFL offense, what do you think the defense is going to do? What do you think they're going to do? They hear a dinner bell, man. Pavlov's defense. Ding, ding, ding. Dinner served. Let's eat. That's the reality of the situation that BY is behind right now. So, I don't know that we can have, and I'm saying this positive or negative. This is not saying, oh, it's an excuse to sit here and defend BY. We cannot know how good or bad this dude is. We can't know because he's operating in a dumpster right now. The whole situation. He might be real bad. He made some throws last night, from my understanding, that made him just look real bad. But at the same time, Bryce Young is not the only cat on the football field, and everything that everybody else does impacts him as well. All right, those of you that watched last night, give me your thoughts. 71307, that is the carpros.com text line, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. If you watched that game last night, I want your thoughts on it. Let's take a break. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. I'm going to be leaving a lot, guys, because my nose sucks. But I shall return briefly. Hey, would you like a Sour Patch Kids?
That might contribute to what the problem that you're having. No.
I almost wonder if it'd do the opposite. And if I left them in my pocket last night, so maybe
So I can easily turn off the making fun of someone's height and just talk about the inability to do what you've been paid to do. And there are a lot of reasons why he's not doing well, but he needs to get some of the blame.
reminds me of smoking Jay Cutler.
Jay had some things going on at home, though. So, I mean, you know.
Mamas, don't let your babies marry reality TV stars.
I think my L4 is stuck. I don't know what I'm counting down. I think it's 4. It might be 3.
Is it? No, L's in the bottom, C's up top.
Oh, okay.
I
So
think these are C's.
Yeah, but if I say C4, that means something totally different.
There's so many lights and sirens in the parking lot.
We just got flagged, and thanks, Rob.
I didn't say it. Don't let them play guitars and drive pickup trucks.
Such a clever way of using the word such. So I'm wondering, was C1, 2, and 3 just not good enough, and they got the 4 and said, there it is. That's what we need right there. And are there a 5? And I think there is a 5. Is there a 6? By the way, the Loki season finale. Yes.
It's the only episode I haven't watched. I got up to it last night. I got up to it yesterday afternoon. I was working, and then I thought the finale dropped yesterday afternoon.
No, it's at 9 o'clock.
Last night. Okay,
yeah,
I don't know why I thought it dropped.
They decided to make it like appointment, so they do it like at 9 o'clock.
Okay.
To satisfy the West Coast.
Everybody I've
Screw
heard
you, West Coast
has said it was real good.
The twist, Kim away going, did not expect that. But now what are they going to do?
Is it an MCU impacting level twist? Like everybody is going to see the ramifications?
I am not saying a thing.
Okay. Fine.
That would be disregarding your personal week spoiler. And it's only been a day. Not even a day. Going to see Marvels tonight. I'm curious if what happened on the last episode of Loki will tie in any way, shape, or form to Marvels.
So I think here's my takeaway so far without having yet watched the game. I'm going to watch the game. In fact, I'll watch the game today. I will watch the game today because when we get off the radio program this AM.
No, man, you should be taking a nap. You need a nap.
That's happening too.
You got important things to do tonight.
Sure do. Burns Rebels at home, round 2 of the South Carolina High School football playoffs, hosting the Hillcrest Rams. And coming up here in about 2 hours, we're going to be joined by Kevin Thomas, John Epps, and Jarrell Hendricks of the Moving the Chains podcast to talk about all of the high school football playoff games taking place around the state. But when we get off the show at 10, got about an hour and a half of work that I'll have to do. Then I'll head to the house. And while I go lay in bed while the sun is very much up because shut up, I'm old and tired and also have a game to call tonight, I will click on last night's Amazon Prime video, Thursday Night Football, Carolina, Chicago, and give it a watch through the perspective of somebody who knows ball. And what I will say is, without having watched the full game, having only watched elements of the game thus far, I have settled here for now. It is 100% fair to say that Bryce Young looks bad so far. It is exacerbated by the performances of C.J. Stroud predominantly. It is exacerbated by the fact that Will Levis is 1-1 and has more touchdown passes in those 2 games than BY does in total so far this year. That is absolutely true. It is exacerbated by Anthony Richardson and what he was doing for a 500 Colts team before he got his collarbone exploded and had to step out for the season. And I think that we as human beings, we are pattern-seeking creatures. Our evolution was based upon our ability to see a pattern, recognize a pattern, and make predictions based on that pattern. We learned that if I hit the pointy thing with the rock, the pointy thing goes into this other thing, and now all of a sudden we can make the prediction that if I hit the pointy through two things with The Rock. Those two things stick together. Now we have hammers and nails and we can build houses, right? That is how the game works.
Yeah, I was a little lost about where you were
going.
Don't
worry, I'm going to get you there.
But you got there.
Yeah,
so, all
I'm
right.
going to get you there. We are pattern-seeking creatures, and therefore we cannot help but compare and contrast. We can't help but compare and contrast. And sometimes that is to our own detriment. There is an old saying that I believe is comparison, Lonzo, is the thief of joy.
I haven't heard that before.
Comparison is the thief of joy.
You sure you didn't just make that up?
No, I've seen it before.
Okay.
Comparison is the thief of joy. It is alive and well predominantly. I have this conversation with some of my younger cousins all the time when I tell them you cannot look at for instance, you can't look at other people's social media. Because what do people put on social media? The highlights of their life, right? This is the best my life is. But because it's all they put up there, and because we are pattern-seeking creatures, we get into a spot where we just assume this is just what their life is because it's all the experience we have. When you are looking at just Bryce Young versus just CJ Stroud, and you don't take into consideration the coaching staffs they're under, the offenses they're around, the running backs, the wide receivers, the offensive line, you're making a mistake. I'll go one step further. Last night, Lonzo said in the last segment, and he's not wrong, that a large chunk of this L was on the defense because Chicago had guys running all over the field. It is hilarious, in fact, that they were able to record only 16 points in a game where they probably could have hit the over. But in order to look at that and feel that way, to me, you almost have to ignore that Brian Burns was out. The entire starting defensive backfield from week one was out. Xavier Woods, C.J. Henderson, J.C. Horn, they were all out. So that was like 75% the second string defense on the football field. And while I understand every player in the NFL is an NFL player, there's a reason that there are starters and there are backups. All right? Sometimes you just got to know your role. And I think we can look, and in an effort to compare and contrast, we overlook some vital realities that we need to take into consideration. And I think in this case, recognizing that Chicago had the benefit of going up against effectively Carolina's second string defense. If last night, and again, I'm not trying to make an excuse here, but if it's not an excuse, it's a reason. If Brian Burns and Xavier Woods and C.J. Henderson and J.C. Horn and the starting defense was playing, Lonzo, Carolina wins that game last night.
I don't think they do.
Why?
Because I don't think that defense is as good as advertised, and I think the scheme does not work for the player, for the personnel that they have.
I think I'm not asking for that defense to have gone out and stopped the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm saying they could have stopped the Chicago Bears.
I'm asking for the defense to be at least as good as it's been for the last 5 to 10 years, and it is nowhere near that. Even at full strength, the scheme does not work for these guys.
And again, valid criticism. I'm not saying this team could stop the Eagles. I'm saying they could have stopped the Bears. They could have stopped the Bears with a rookie 5th-round quarterback last night, for sure. And I think that, and this is the other thing that I think we as sports fans do sometimes. I think we as sports fans lose context of situations, right? Are we having a different conversation? I'm not saying we are or we aren't. Are we having a different conversation today if that game was 16-13, Carolina wins? Are we having a different conversation? Are we in here today going, hey, they won a game. They won a game. This is why I've said the concept to me of W's and L's only matters in its reality. The concepts of W's and L's only matter if you are looking at a championship. This team is not. We'll talk more about this later in the show. Your water cooler cheat sheet is coming up next. But before we get to that, Lonzo will just absolutely blow your doors off with some wonderful sports news and information in this Rob Brown Show Sports Flash.
All I can say is our guy Rashad, they're getting ready to march on Mint Street. Take that however you want. Speaking of Mint Street, last night on Thursday Night Football, in case you haven't heard this, the Carolina Panthers lose again, 16-13 to Chicago Bear team that started a D2 quarterback. Kicker Eddie Pinheiro had a 59-yard tying field goal drop yards short, while Bryce Young went just 21 for 38 for 185 yards. The run game made a difference with Carolina rushing for 43 total yards, while Chicago piled up 133. Tune in tonight at 7 p.m. as the Burns Rebels take on the Hillcrest Rams in the second round of the high school football playoffs. Rob Brown brings you all the play-by-play action right here on your home for Burns football, the Fan Upstate. Yeah, they switched play callers, and it seems, Zach, like they got worse. I don't know. When an ownership spends money and does what the Panthers did to get Bryce Young, the first step to supposedly fixing what's wrong will be to get rid of the entire coaching staff. They have Michigan State, by the way, Zach. But that's, I mean, when you have an ownership who has not drafted well, say what you want to say about Richardson. He knew how to draft. The new ownership does not draft well. And so how do you solve the problem? You don't want to say that you made the mistake. The first mistake, I mean, to fix is you get rid of the coaching staff. Thinking that getting rid of the coaching staff will fix what's wrong with Bryce Young. And who knows? Maybe it will. It's a possibility.
Are we ready to say the Frank Reich coaching experiment has failed?
I already said that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But Tepper has to either say, I was wrong, we drafted the wrong guy, even though there are all the videos out there where Reich was excited about getting C.J. Stroud and all the things they were saying to him. And then the test scores came out, supposedly. I heard, I think it was yesterday, McAfee and those guys making fun of the test scores about all those things are really important. And then, yeah, they're not. I mean, maybe they are for some people, but not for everybody. I think you look at how well a player played in their career, more so than how well they test. Some people just test badly. But anyway, Tepper is not going to say he made a mistake by drafting Bryce Young. He's going to say he made a mistake by hiring Frank Reich. So you clear all that out.
For the record, that might not be wrong.
No, I said that. I said that there's a possibility that a new coaching staff comes in and they play to whatever Bryce's strengths are and build a team around him to win by doing what he does well. But the first step would be to get rid of Frank Reich and all those guys. See, you're saying that, Zach, and you're right about Loki. But you did say yesterday that you're going to have to go. I'm going to go watch it anyway. I love the actress that they got to play Kamala Khan. I just think she is infectious and all that kind of stuff. And I like Monica Rambeau, and maybe someone is not as OP in this movie, and that would help.
I like to be able to shut my brain off during superhero movies. That's kind of part of the fun. And I am all for the girl power moments in superhero movies because I feel it's important for young women to feel like they're represented in that universe as well. But Captain Marvel flying through a spaceship and tearing it up just by flying through it, but then needing the help of all the women to get through people is going to remain one of the dumbest scenes of any of those movies. And for the record, I loved Endgame. I loved it. Thought it was great. Also, the fiance last night pointed out that I have the same haircut as Randy Owens did in the 1970s. And now I can't not see it.
So was that supposed to be a slight?
That's what I said. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, because trends come back around every couple of decades. So, I mean, you know.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Our numero dos to the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, you on a Friday morning. Coming up in this hour of the show here in just mere moments, we're going to get to your water cooler cheat sheet, the 3 things you have to know before you go start talking sports at work. Then the college football QuadBox. I'm going to walk you through the 4 games in the noon, afternoon, and night windows that you have to watch this weekend in order to be able to join us Monday and say, Rob and Lonzo, I also, like you two, know ball. We'll get to that coming up in the next hour. In the next hour of the show, Kevin, John, and Jarrell from Moving the Chains will join us, and we'll run you up and down the South Carolina high school football playoff brackets.
We're getting all 3?
I think so.
That's unprecedented.
It would be a first. I think this season it would be the first time it's happened.
I don't think it's ever happened. Period.
I think it did one
on
last year
on stream. I don't.
We'll find out.
Okay,
we'll see. That's coming up at the end of the next hour. And I'm not gonna lie to you. There's a very good chance that at the end of the show we do a Fanboy Friday today. I know it has been a hot minute. In fact, I don't think we have done it in the new time slot yet. But we
barely did it in the last one. So
that's true.
Yeah.
That's fair. There's a very good chance we will do a Fanboy Friday today because Loki season 2 came to its conclusion last night. I have heard nothing but good things. The Marvels is in theaters right now. We got to get to that. There's been a lot of good music that's dropped. So it's been a minute since we did a Fanboy Friday. We may have to drop one on the show today. We'll find out when we get into the final hour of the radio broadcast. But before, ladies and gentlemen, before we get to any of that, let us get to this. There are some sports nuggets floating around in the universe right now that you need to know, and we will give you the top 3 of them right now in today's water cooler cheat sheet.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
"You hear that?"
Take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
Do you know what sound you're going to cover up the fart sound with before you play it, or are you just like, pick one?
That's,
on the fly.
I wanted to do that one because that's been a greatest hit this week.
I kind of feel like item number 1 on the water cooler cheat sheet, Lonzo, is that there are no updates today from Law and Order Ann Arbor. No updates.
I didn't want to play because I want more updates. I want to know what's going on because we were told that something was going to happen yesterday and nothing happened.
Let me be very clear about where I landed on this. What I said was, if with a capital I, and as Lonzo would say, a very capital F to Michigan, if something was going to happen, it was going to happen yesterday. Not today and not next week or later.
By the way, all the shows yesterday were saying that it was going to happen yesterday.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so everybody was wrong.
Again, I was not wrong because what I said was if something was going to happen, I will be wrong.
I'm sorry, Rob. You are a light in the darkness.
Thank
the
you.
only one that was not wrong yesterday.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's glad to know I'm finally being recognized. Except for those 2 times that we were recognized. So, if something was going to happen, it was going to come yesterday. And there's a reason for that, right? We talked a little bit about this. The Big Ten has a decision to make.
Wait, you got me.
Man.
Dude, I ain't catching you.
No,
I'm
on 6 this week. It is my worst week as a radio host.
I was going to say, is this number 1?
No, it's not. You had like 3 on Monday out of the gate, but I'm still
No.
beating you this week.
I'm talking about water cooler cheat sheet. Is this number 1?
This is item number 1. To me, it's incredible that no news is news for this. It is not that there's no news. It's that there's no news means likely there will be no news until the end of the season. If the Big Ten was going to hand down any punishment to Michigan, it likely, in my opinion, would have happened yesterday. Now, I will acknowledge that there is still a chance that down the line, I will be wrong. There is a chance that I will be proven wrong, and I will be proven wrong if the Big Ten hands down any punishment over the course of now and the playoffs. Now in Michigan's final game of the year, whether it's a semifinal or the final, if they hand down a punishment between here and there, I will be wrong. But the reason that I said that if there was going to be an in-season punishment, it would have come down yesterday was the Big Ten punishing Jim Harbaugh with what we now know is the protocol punishment for a violation of the sportsmanship protocols in the Big Ten is a 2-game suspension. Michigan this week is on the road at Penn State. Next week, they host Maryland before, obviously, rivalry weekend, Thanksgiving weekend, when they take on Lonzo's Ohio State Buckeyes. The Big Ten has an internal debate. What matters more, principle with an LE or principle with an AL? Money or ethics? Now, this may be dictated by the amount. There are 2 things I think at play. Number one, struggling today. Number 1.
Well, it depends on if you've been imbibing. That may look like a 1. It could.
Number 1, the evidence they have. You will recall that earlier this week, the University of Michigan submitted a reply to the Big Ten in which they said that they believe that the evidence that the Big Ten claims to have is not evidence enough to justify a punishment. Number 2, Michigan claimed that and attached evidence that other schools were also stealing signs, and therefore they did not deserve to be punished for it. Fair or foul, we'll find out. But the other thing that the Big Ten has to be concerned with here is that Michigan and Ohio State represent, I think, one of 2 conferences that, if the ball was to bounce a certain way, have an opportunity to get 2 teams into the playoffs, as the Big Ten did last year with, of course, Michigan and Ohio State. So, do they want to take a team that may or may not be bound for the playoffs and remove their head coach? Well, if you are going to do that, you would want to do it, I think, and allow Jim Harbaugh to return for Ohio State week. Not be available for Penn State week and Maryland, but have to miss Ohio State. Because while Michigan-Penn State is a default playoff game for Michigan, every team inside the top 5 is in the playoffs every week from here on out. I do not think that Penn State is the bigger of the 2 threats to Michigan. So I will be shocked at this point if a punishment from the league comes down after today.
All right. So this is my belief. if Michigan loses to Penn State, probably not going to happen, but not out of the realm of possibility, punishment happens Monday.
I would concur with
because then effectively
it doesn't matter anymore.
They're out of the national champion, kind of out of the national championship, and so they can go ahead and put some sort of punishment on the board.
It would still be a possibility, but Michigan would then have to beat Ohio State. And again, the risk you run there if you're the Big Ten is if Michigan loses to Penn State, and we go, okay, he is going to take that mandated 2-game suspension for this. What happens if, it won't, but what happens, Lonzo, if Ohio State drops 1 to Sparty? Just a wild upset. Or who do you got? You guys got Michigan State this weekend, right? Yeah. What happens if Ohio State drops 1 to Sparty? Now, all of a sudden, the race for the Big Ten championship is extended to rivalry weekend, right? And by the way, if you don't, Michigan drops 1 to Penn State this weekend, but then Michigan goes and plays Ohio State and beats Ohio State in the last week of the season. It could still very much be Michigan representing the Big Ten in the Big Ten title game, or the Big Ten West in the Big Ten title game, and having the opportunity to be the Big Ten champs and likely the team that represents the Big Ten in the playoffs if the Big Ten gets a team in there, right? So I don't know is the answer. But the fact that there was no suspension yesterday leads me to think that we probably aren't going to see one until the season's over. Item number 2. I like this story. I think this story is massively important. I don't know that all of you that feel the same way now, but you will in the future. Earlier this week, we found out that the USL, remember the Greenville Triumph play in USL League One. The USL has signed a massive broadcasting agreement with CBS, meaning that USL games will be moving over to the CBS streaming side of things. Yesterday, we found out that the National Women's Soccer League, the NWSL, has announced a new broadcast deal worth reportedly $240 million over the next 4 years, a sum that will transform that league, and some, myself included, believe will turn the NWSL into the largest and most outstanding professional women's soccer league in the world. There are multiple deals wrapped up inside of that $240 million agreement. The deals are with CBS, ESPN, Amazon, and Scripps, which owns the ION network. Those 4 networks will collectively broadcast 118 games nationally, a 4-fold increase from the NWSL's previous deal with exclusively CBS. But the big news is the values of the deal, reportedly the richest package ever for a North American women's sports league. The deal works out to be $60 million per season, a figure that reportedly includes production cost and marketing commitments. It is 40 times the amount of the league's previous deal, which was worth $1.5 million annually. Without a significant TV deal in the past, NWSL revenues lagged and tight limits on spending remained in place. The league's salary cap and restrictions on player movement, amongst other factors, deterred foreign stars from joining, many of whom chose to go to or remain in Europe or South America. At the 2023 Women's World Cup, England's WSL was the most represented domestic league. Only 3 NWSL players reached the semifinals. This deal will, in my opinion, ensure that number goes up. Listen, I'm going to make this real quick and real simple because we still got to get to item number 3, although I don't want to. Here's the reality. If you want anything to grow, you must invest in it. If you want anything to grow, you must invest in it. And this is a hell of an investment in the women's game, and I am damn happy to read about it this morning. Item number 3. There were multiple opportunities last night for the Carolina Panthers to figure out a way past the Chicago Bears, and stop the presses, stop me if you've heard this before, they didn't do that. 16-13 your final. The Bears improved to 3-7 on the season. The Panthers fall to 1-8. And oh, by the way, because the Panthers are 1-8, they will likely have either the first or the second overall draft pick. And by they will have it, I mean Chicago will have it because the Bears hold the Panthers' first-round draft pick this year, a pick that was sent to Chicago in return for the rights to the number 1 overall draft pick last year, which, of course, turned into the quarterback that the Bears defeated last night, Bryce Young. BY, 21 of 38, 185 yards. Now, I am what smart people refer to, Lonzo, as a big, fat, stupid dummy. But
duh,
I would like to see, Zoe, let's test the memory of the great one here. Lonzo, you and I, despite butting heads on many things Carolina-related this week, you and I yesterday agreed that if Carolina was going to get anything done in this game last night, there was one methodology, one game plan, one tactic that they must introduce. Do you remember what it was we agreed on that Carolina had to do last night if they wanted a chance to win this football contest?
I'm going to take a stab at it and say run the ball.
Run the ball. Last night, Carolina ran the ball, Lonzo, 16 times. They threw it 38. Now, I am bad at numbers. That's why all my jobs are words jobs. I do the wordsing for employment, not the numbersing. But 16 is less than half of 38, I believe. I think I'm correct there. In fact, I know for a fact that I am.
Okay. All right. Because I'm a little concerned. That
I'm being sarcastic.
Wow. You're wearing the sunglasses. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I can't do that today. All right. I got to save the voice. Hopefully I got a bunch of touchdown rebels to drop tonight on the radio. So I got to protect the moneymaker.
Yeah. You got to bring that energy tonight.
21 of 38. They threw the ball 38 times. Now, I am not against letting Bryce Young throw the football, but here's the reality. If you can't run, or perhaps worse, if you won't run the ball, defenses can tee off on Bryce Young, who did look bad last night. So that I'm not accused of giving him the pass, because I'm not. He did look bad last night, but when you can't or won't run the football, they can tee off on a quarterback and create havoc.
Thomas Brown.
I got to tell you, Lonzo and I talked during the last break. I said unto Lonzo, is it time for us as Panthers fans and getting paid fans who like the Panthers to do well, because that's what happens for me when they do, is it time for us to say the Frank Reich experiment has failed? And Lonzo said,
yeah, you got that in order.
Exactly what he said. That's exactly the quote.
Yeah. So in order to for Tepper to make it look like he made the right decision with going with this quarterback when he could have went for CJ Stroud, he's going to have to get rid of the coaching staff, bring in a new coaching staff, which might actually fix Bryce Young. I believe it was Zach on the stream, though, pointed out how Frank Reich had gotten a lot out of other quarterbacks, but can't seem to do it out of this one. So I don't know.
So I'll ask y'all.
But I predicted that he wouldn't make the season. We'll see. And if you're going to make a change, it's going to be soon, because they've got a week and a half before they play again.
Is it time fans owe the Carolina Cats? Is it time to say the Frank Reich experiment hath failed? I place that question at your feet and look for your response on the carpros.com text line at 71307. Start your text with fan, or on the telephone at 844-326-3663. Let us depart from this segment for a break. When we come back, it is time for the Quad Box. We are going to take a look at the 4 biggest games in the noon window, the 4 biggest games in the afternoon window, and the 4 biggest games in the night window for college football this weekend, and give you the briefest of breakdowns on why you need to watch all of them and why they are important. Then at 8 o'clock, clock in and lock in. I'm going to give you my best bets for college and pro football this weekend. At 8:40, Kevin Thomas, Jarrell Hendricks, and John Epps will join us to move the chains and talk high school football. It's all coming up on the Rob Brown Show. It's all coming up on the Fan Upstate. Oh, also, I just remembered, and I didn't promote this, that at 8:20, we have Ben London, who covers the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck Yellow Jackets, coming on the stream to break down Clemson Tech with us.
Yeah, that's kind of, wasn't on the rundown.
Yeah, because I just remember I booked it.
At least you remember.
I ever.
Why is this guy randomly?
All right, guys, give me 30 seconds. We'll be right back.
So anybody else out there trigger the alarm accidentally on their way out the door this morning? Or was that just me?
Lonzo ninja kicked a spider off the door to the studio.
I did do that too. But yeah, I forgot to disarm the alarm this morning. So it went off and then I fumbled with the thing trying to turn. So I hope my wife went back to sleep for a while. If not, I'm sorry.
One of those like sets the neighborhood.
Dude, remember, no neighborhood.
Well, yeah, but like I'm asking like volume wise. If you had a neighborhood, would it have woken everybody up?
Oh, it's pretty loud when
Yeah.
it goes off. You still got a little bit of time. I was like right on the edge of if I hadn't hit it one more time, it probably would have started squeak, and then the authorities would have arrived.
The Rob Brown Show rolls on, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Fan Upstate. Couple of thoughts on the text line so far. Texter said, I don't think he has failed. The talent on that team is horrible. If they gave up so much for BY, they should have got a lot better talent because they're not them without it. Texter said the Panthers should have kept all their players like DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey and picked up Tyson Bagent as quarterback for a much cheaper rate, and maybe they would have won more. Texter says, Zozo the contrarian, bro. Texter said,
All right. About what?
I don't know.
Again, differing.
I mean, most mornings.
Differing opinions. So you want me to come on here and yes, man, Rob?
I've decided I'm leaving the glasses on. By the way.
I noticed. It hides your tired eyes. You want me to come on here and kiss Rob's butt and go, dude, I can't. What a great point. Wow. Good job, Rob.
I feel better about my life already.
That was my fake laugh. I think it was pretty authentic, though.
Let's see here. Texter says, Jeff Bezos definitely called Goodell and asked for his money back on that one. Texter said, what y'all are saying about the Panthers is why I consider them the new Cleveland Browns. Signed Spur Daddy. You're not alone. You're not alone.
Yeah. How many quarterbacks have they had? Maybe in the span of,
Woof.
If they aren't there, they're gaining.
All right, let's take a look at the quad box, ladies and gentlemen. Lonzo and I are going to run you down the 4 games in every college football window this weekend that you have to watch them if you want to be able to tell me on Monday that you know ball. So let's get into them, shall we? Let's take a look at the quad box. And as always, we will start with our noon games. We are going to start on the SEC network at noon. That is where Vanderbilt plays South Carolina. Shane Beamer's boys try to protect this house against the lowest of low SEC opponents. And this game is a big one. I didn't pick this game because it's South Carolina. I picked this game, great one, because if Shane Beamer loses this one, after calling some of his fans miserable last weekend, if they lose this game, I have to think, and I think we're already tiptoeing on a razor-thin edge, but I have to think you have hit the point where the TikTok videos and the Twitter skits and the funny glasses and the locker room dancing and all that has to go away to show that you are dialed into the product. Now, if you win this game and you move to a 4-win season with the bowl eligibility still available, then I think you can kind of keep the personality alive a little bit. But this game, to me, is a must-win for the South Carolina Gamecocks. That's why it's on the quad box.
I'm trying to figure out how to not be supposedly contrarian when it comes to this, but I am just curious. This is a legitimate question. When's the last time you saw all the stuff that you're talking about? When they started losing, I haven't seen any of that. So I think that's already been put away.
I think to some degree it has.
Because I don't recall the last video that I've seen, and those things usually pop up on my feed,
Sure.
and I haven't gone looking for it. But I don't remember the last time they did that.
That's not unfair, to be honest with you. That's not unfair at all. I do think that there is still this. I think there is still this kind of, and I think this is what got Shane into the water a little bit this weekend. I still think there is this kind of happy-go-lucky, everybody's just here to have a great time attitude. And while we are, because that's why we love football, at the same time, you've got to prove that you are working to give a return on investment. Vandy is at South Carolina at noon on the SEC network. They are not the only team playing at noon because the Clemson Tiger Men's are also playing at noon. They are on ABC as the Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech come to town. Yet again, as I have proven in the past, I do not just put our teams on the quad box for funsies. I put them on the quad box when they are playing games that matter, and this one does.
Do I want to watch the team that I want to win or the team that I want to lose live? I'm watching both games, but I
have all the TV, so I'm watching all of them. Georgia Tech's at Clemson. Brent Key brings his Yellow Jackets in to take on Dabo Sweeney's Tigers, and I will say this one is important as well. Keep in mind, one more win does secure bowl eligibility for the Clemson Tigers, but that is not what I'm concerned about. As I talked about yesterday, I am concerned about the brand. I am concerned about the image of the Clemson Tigers on a national level, particularly and specifically when it comes to their recruiting. Last week, Clemson announced to the world, hey, we're still here. We can still compete with the big dogs. We can still beat the big dogs. And Memorial has kind of been a bastion for Clemson, even when things have kind of started to get out away from them a little bit. They need to continue that this weekend. You can run the ball on Georgia Tech. They're giving up 220 plus yards a game on the ground. I need to see that this coaching staff gets it, understands it, and can dial in on that. Georgia Tech at Clemson is at noon on ABC. On ESPN at noon, Alabama is on the road. They are taking on the now unranked Kentucky Wildcats. Kentucky is 6-3, but those three, number one Georgia, Mizzou, who was ranked, and Tennessee, who is ranked. They have gotten, if you consider losses to be good losses, 3 respectable losses. Now, Mizzou and Tennessee were both at home. Both of those teams went into Lexington and stole the dub away from the Cats. Rammer Jammer, Yellow Hammer, give them hell. Alabama is on its way to Lexington, Kentucky to stare down Mark Stoops' Wildcats at Kroger Field. Why is this one interesting? Well, it is because also playing this weekend is Ole Miss in Georgia. Now, this is not the likely outcome, but if Alabama loses to Kentucky and Ole Miss finds a way to upset Georgia, it would be Ole Miss representing the SEC West in the SEC championship game. So this has not just SEC implications. This could very well end up having playoff implications. The game's on ESPN.
The chaos there would be amazing.
It would be beautiful.
But
with Lane Kiffin involved, yes, please.
But as far as Alabama goes, do you recall them being so under the radar but still being very good like they have been this year?
Ladies and gentlemen, if Alabama is under the radar to you, and I agree that they are. Last night, I was on BetMGM on the BetQL network. I do a weekly spot on Thursdays talking college football with Ryan, Trista, and the gang. And they were like, Rob, nobody's really talking about Alabama. And I said, somebody is. Somebody's been telling you for 4 weeks now that Nick Saban has flipped the switch. Nick Saban looks like 2017 Nick Saban again. And oh, by the way, that Jalen Milroe fella, he's figured out how to do a quarterback. Now, all of a sudden, Alabama's a buzzsaw, my dude. So if they are under the radar to you, it is very simply because you have not been listening to the Rob Brown Show airing from 6 to 10 a.m. every weekday, because somebody has been telling you for about 4 weeks to keep eyeballs on this team because they're putting something together, my dudes and dudettes. And I think they're going to wax Kentucky this weekend.
So do I. And it would not shock me that Alabama wins the SEC.
It would not shock me at all.
Because Georgia is not the Georgia of last year. They're not.
Not only would it not surprise me, but Lonzo. Oh, wait. Hang on. I have to unmute myself this time. There it is. Radio professional. Hot take. Alabama, Lonzo, will win the Southeastern Conference Championship.
I don't know if it's that hot of a take, though.
Hot as fish grease, bro.
That's pretty hot.
It's very hot. It's the hottest. Alabama's going to win the SEC championship. They're going to beat Georgia. Okay? Keep an eye on that. And finally, in the noon window, ladies and gentlemen, at noon on Fox, who else could it be but the sign theft of the century? Michigan is on the road at number 10 Penn State. This is at Beaver Stadium, Happy Valley University Park in Pennsylvania, as the Penn State Nittany Lions under James Franklin end up hosting Jim Harbaugh, maybe, and his Michigan Wolverines.
Is it a whiteout? This should be the whiteout game. Why is this not the whiteout game?
I don't think it is the whiteout game, actually.
Because it's, I don't know, does the whiteout game work better at night? No, it's right in the middle of the day.
I gotta tell you, I hate this game at noon. I despise with every fiber of my being this game at noon. This game needs to be under the lights, man.
Because it's all about me, I'm glad most of these games are at noon, so I can pick and choose what I want to watch. And I'm excited about this being at noon. Now I know I'm probably going to watch at least the first quarter of that and see if Penn State brings the hype that they can in that stadium, and if it's disruptive, and if everybody is doing signs in the stadium as they should be. Could be fun.
This game needs to be at night. This game needs about 7.5 more hours of Penn State kids tailgating and getting ready to roll. Happy Valley should be registering on the Richter scale for this game, and instead it's at a noon kick.
I think all Michigan games should be at noon, and from here on, they should be on the CW.
Boo. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, we will walk you through the mid-afternoon and the nighttime slot, because there are plenty more games that we need to give you an ever so brief breakdown on. At 8 o'clock, clock in and lock in. I'll give you my best bets of the weekend. At 8:20, Ben London covers the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck for 24/7. He's going to join us to talk a little Clemson G Tech. Then at 8:40, we talk high school football playoffs with Kevin, John, and Jarrell from the Moving the Chains pod. And then 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, whatever, dude. Just whatever you want. Whatever. That's all coming up on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
I would demand like all of next season too. As bad as it was like bad entertaining, I thought. I mean, you know.
I got told that a couple of times.
Yeah, it's like this. I shouldn't be.
It was like watching a B comic book.
Yeah. Will he return to the studio in time? Hey, come here for a second. Oh, is that real?
That he said that? Yeah.
No. I know that. I heard that. But
Yeah.
those three are actually
Yeah.
those three.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I met.
I think the biggest surprise is CJ Perry.
Oh yeah, Lana was a cowgirl.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
realize that.
I met her and Jen Sturger both at Florida State at a baseball game, as a matter of fact, that I was covering.
She
was an absolute sweetheart too. Both of them were.
Yeah, but she's supposed to be Bulgarian. How is she? Must be some sort of exchange student thing or something.
She was Russian. The ravishing
Russian. You're right.
My back hurts. My everything hurts. And away we go. We keep the quad box rolling, ladies and gentlemen, in the noon slot. Vandy at South Carolina on the SEC Network. Georgia Tech is at Clemson on ABC. Alabama is at Kentucky on ESPN. And Michigan is at Penn State on Fox. In the midday slot, we start with a quad of 3:30 games. All of these games at 3:30 on ESPN. Oklahoma State is at UCF. Wait a minute, Rob. Why in the world would you put the Cowboys of Okie State on this? Why would you put the UCF Golden Knights on this? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you why. The reason why is these UCF Golden Knights, yes, they are currently sitting at 4-5 and 13th place in the Big 12, but they have wins over Boise State. They have a win over Cincinnati. More importantly, they were real close to getting Oklahoma. Frankly, should have won that game. They were real close to getting Baylor, lost by a single point. They were real close to getting Kansas State before the Wildcats pulled away late in that game. UCF is primed for an upset. And while we were all laughing at Oklahoma State very early in the year, you will remember they needed all they had to get by Central Arkansas. They lost one of their 2 L's to South Alabama 33-7. I've got a buddy who lives up in Nebraska now, who used to live here. He's an Oklahoma State guy. Scooty, my man Scott, big Oklahoma State guy. And after they lost to USA and then lost to Iowa State the next weekend, Scooty was not doing real good. Now, all of a sudden, the Cowboys are 7-2. They have won 5 straight after that, including ranked wins over Kansas and Oklahoma. Now, all of a sudden, the Oklahoma State Cowboys are inside of the top 15. And, one more fun thought. You remember how we all thought we were going to get Texas, Oklahoma for a Big 12 championship race down the stretch? Well, it turns out it might be Texas, Oklahoma State. They are 7-2 overall, 5-1 in conference. They are a single loss behind the Longhorns as it stands. I'm going Oklahoma State, UCF at 3:30. Also at 3:30, this one on CBS, Tennessee is at Mizzou. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this game doesn't really matter as far as the SEC race. That is pretty much determined. The East is going to be represented by Georgia. The West going to be represented by either Alabama or Ole Miss. But these are 2 teams that are on a razor's edge right now. These are 2 teams that either one of them could make their way up into the upper echelon of the Southeastern Conference this year. Both of these teams are 7-2. Both of these teams are tied in the SEC East at 3-2. Either one of these teams could be the second best team behind Georgia and the team that is waiting for Georgia to get a little wobbly at the top to take a step forward. Eli Drinkwitz was coaching for his job earlier in the year. He has lost 2 games, one to a very good LSU team and one to a very good Georgia team. The Tennessee Volunteers have lost 2 games. They will regret the loss to Florida, their other L, to the University of Alabama, who considers them a rivalry at this point. The winner of this game will take a massive step forward in SEC relevance. The loser will be left scratching their head. That one is on CBS at 3:30. Utah is at Washington at 3:30 on Fox. I am all over the Washington Huskies in this one. I think Washington is going to be just fine in this game. But Utah, despite being 7-2 with losses to Oregon State and Oregon, both top 25 teams, consider themselves, even without Cam Rising, they consider themselves giant killers of sorts. Remember, they knocked off USC 34-32 in dramatic walk-off fashion a couple of weeks back. They hung 55 on Arizona State last weekend. This team can score some points in bunches. Remember, every game is a playoff game for Washington now. Every game is a playoff game as they sit at number 5 in the playoff rankings with a look-see at getting into the top 4 and a playoff spot probably the last week of the season. But hey, Michigan's got themselves a game this weekend. Washington wins, they could be plugged into the top 4. And finally, at 3:30 on ABC, look, I think the Noles are fine against Miami. But Lonzo, this is a nasty rivalry game. These two teams do not like each other. I have got friends from both squads who will tell you, Florida State fans will tell you, Florida is the rivalry. Miami, you want to burn to the ground.
You didn't say that. Tell me you did not just say that.
Miami fans. Miami doesn't really have a rivalry outside of Florida State. They hate each other. This is not a rivalry. This is hatred on a football field. So, if Miami's got an upset in them somewhere at any point in the regular season, this is the one that they want to get it done. I do not believe a one-loss team from the Atlantic Coast Conference can make its way to the playoffs. If the ACC is going to have a school in, it will be because Florida State goes undefeated. Their biggest challenge remaining is either Florida at the last week, and Florida's not that good, Miami this week, or Louisville in the ACC title game. This game at 3:30 on ABC. And finally, we move to the night shift, and we start at 7 p.m. at night. That is when the Georgia Bulldogs of Athens will be at home taking on the Running Rebels of Ole Miss. Ole Miss brings their number 9 ranking in the AP poll into Athens to square up with Kirby Smart. And here's why I like this game. It's not just because it's 2 top 10 teams getting it on in the SEC. It's because earlier this week, Lane Kiffin said, great one, we got nothing to lose. He said, we're a double-digit dog. Nobody expects us to be in this game. And if you've got nothing to lose, you've got nothing to lose. He said, I have gotten tight in some other games, some games against undefeated Alabama, undefeated LSU in the past. I have gotten tight and my team played like it. I'm not doing that this week. We're going out there to have fun. If we lose, we lose, but we got nothing to lose. Let's go out there and play loose and have fun. I don't know if that's going to translate on the field, though, but I really hope it does, because I would love to see what Georgia looks like if they get a little scare put into them by Jackson Dart and Joey Freshwater.
That is that's extremely intriguing.
Yes,
it is. Without a doubt. Especially if they are able to get a lead early on or keep it close going into halftime. Be a lot of eyes on that.
Completely agreed. including mine. In the night shift, we have got at 7 o'clock on Fox, West Virginia is at Oklahoma. Now, West Virginia is not good, but they're not bad either. They're 6-3. They're third in the Big 12. Neil Brown, who used to coach at Troy down in Alabama, is coaching for his life now as well. There were a lot of thoughts that this was going to be his last shot there at Almost Heaven, West Virginia. Well, they do have 3 L's. One of them was at Penn State. Not a bad L. They took a 2-point loss at Houston. Not a good L, but not the worst either. And they lost to Oklahoma State. Well, all of a sudden, the Cowboys are a top 15 team, which means that, at least on paper, 2 of the 3 losses Neil Brown has taken have been to top 15 teams so far. On the flip side, Oklahoma is 7-2. They have dropped back-to-back roadies against Kansas and Oklahoma State. They return to Norman this weekend. Here's why this game is big. Neil Brown, coaching for his life. Brent Venables, 2 weeks ago, we were saying, maybe in the midst of the greatest single-season turnaround in recent memory. Lonzo, if he drops this game and they go to 7-3, if he drops this game and they find themselves sitting at 5th in the Big 12 behind Kansas and Oklahoma State, if they drop behind Kansas State and West Virginia as well, all of a sudden, Brent Venables in 3 weeks will go from the single greatest one-season turnaround in recent memory to, oh no, he can't do it.
Could almost say, I mean, someone might, I'm not saying I'm saying this, you could almost say that he's Clemsoning. I think you could say that.
I mean, I'm not saying it, but you could say that.
He did used to, well, anyway.
7:30 on the SEC network. Florida is at LSU. I debated putting this one on the roster, but I'm going to be real with you. There's only one game out there that I would consider moving this off, and that's Michigan State at Ohio State. But Sparty is, and this is conclusively true, Lonzo, not good. They are not good.
Yeah, but Ohio State has played down to their opponent a little bit this season. Where, I mean, look at Rutgers last week. Although Rutgers is pretty good, it could be more of a game than you think. I hope it isn't, but it could be.
I also considered putting Duke, North Carolina on this list.
Oh, they flat out hate each other, man. When it
do.
comes to rivalries, man, it's just, nerd on nerd violence. You don't want that. You don't want that.
But Duke, after beating Clemson, kind of had a fall off. They won 4 in a row. They lost to Notre Dame, not a bad loss. Then they lost. Then they beat NC State. Good win. NC State beat Clemson. Then they got pounded by FSU. They got pounded by Louisville. Here's the reality. Duke is currently sitting at 6-3. They have lost 3 games, all 3 of them to top 18 teams in Notre Dame, FSU, and Louisville right now. But North Carolina has come off the board as a national championship contender. So I don't know about that. I don't know about that. So I'm going Florida LSU mainly because it's a rivalry game. It is LSU getting Jaden Daniels back, trying to prove something. Florida, Billy Napier. I am watching the fan base in Gainesville turn on him week by week. The Gators have lost back-to-back, including a 39-36 L to Sam Pittman's Arkansas Razorbacks, a team that lost the week before that by a 7-3 score against Mississippi State. If Billy Napier wants to go into this offseason not on a hot seat after 2 years, he will have to at least compete with the LSU Tigers. And then finally, we wrap it up at 10:30 on Fox when USC takes on Oregon. Now, the only reason this is interesting to me is because Caleb Williams, Lonzo, not the projected guaranteed consensus number 1 overall pick that he was at the beginning of the year. There's a lot of question marks now about Caleb Williams. This is a prove-it game. And we know that when the Trojans go hard in the paint, they can drop a 48, 49, 52 on somebody, but so can the Ducks. Ladies and gentlemen, bet the over, 10:30 on Fox. USC is at Oregon. And by the way, Oregon, not in a playoff spot, but they are the top-ranked one-loss team right now. And if they get some help, I think they're the first team in, especially if they can make it to and win a Pac-12 championship, which they will have to win this game in order to do. What we have to do is listen to Lonzo now. Class, ears on. It's time for your Sports Flash.
LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels is listed as probable in the Tigers matchup with Florida this weekend. The Heisman frontrunner left the game against Alabama after taking a hard hit last week. Texas quarterback Quinn Ewers has made his way back and will get the nod as the one-loss Longhorns take on TCU this Saturday. And Clemson will be missing safety Sheridan Jones and Jalen Phillips against Georgia Tech Saturday. Running back Will Shipley likely to play. Last night on Thursday Night Football, the Carolina Panthers lose again, 16-13 to Chicago Bear team that started a D2 quarterback. Kicker Eddie Pinheiro had a 59-yard tying field goal drop yards short, while Bryce Young went just 21 of 38 yards. We are your home for Furman football. Tune in tomorrow as the Paladins take on the VMI Keydets starting at noon right here on the Fan Upstate. Don't get mad. Get back to what you were doing.
of 4 spectacular hours of sports talk entertainment starts now, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, friends, to the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. I am Rob on the ones and twos this AM, the gentleman in charge of this radio broadcast and all radio broadcasts that you enjoy, and none of the ones that you hate. He, of course, is the great one, Lonzo. We are ever so glad to have you here on the show, here on the program, on the Fan Upstate. Texture said,
there are some people who don't know that we're the reigning defending
undisputed.
Yes.
Two-time South Carolina Broadcasters Association's Sports Talk Radio Program of the Year. And I, Zoe, would love to make it 3. We're working on it. We're getting there. 1% better every single day. Unlike the Carolina Panthers. We are getting better every day. Texter said, my girlfriend keeps telling me I don't need 3 TVs in the living room, but tomorrow is exactly why. The Cox, Clemson, and Penn v. Michigan all at the same time? Yes, please.
Oh, yeah.
Why would, yes. Now, Texter is the self-appointed doctor of love, which I am, obviously. I will tell you that the key is to have 3 televisions in a separate room. You keep one TV in the main room because the fiance is not a fan of the multiple TVs in the living room either. So the compromise that we reached was one of the 3 bedrooms in our house was converted to a bro cave. And I call it the bro cave. It is not a man cave. It is not a man cave because everyone is welcome in the bro cave. If you're a bro, you can come in the bro cave and watch a little football. And everybody can be a bro, right? So my advice to you, Texter, is to get yourself a bro cave. And you can say to the girlfriend, ma'am, you are very much you're very much invited into the bro cave to watch the football with me. But the bro cave is for multiple televisions. And nowadays, there's no excuse because TVs are cheap. You don't need to go get, like I did, the 75-inch. You can go get yourself 3 or 4 40-inchers for the price of one big screen TV nowadays. So go pick yourself up from your local Costco, like 3 40-inch flat screens. Set yourself up a bro cave and make it work. All right? Make it work. All right, let's get to our clock in and lock in. It is 8 o'clock. Means it's time for you to go to work. By the way, we got Ben London from 24/7 Sports joining the stream in the next segment to talk a little Clemson Georgia Tech with us. But I got some best bets for you this weekend. And I am going to open up, ladies and gentlemen, in the Lando College football. My favorite bet of the weekend. Oregon minus, if you can get them, Oregon minus 13.5. Now, there are a couple of books that I have seen Oregon move to minus 15. There are 1 or 2 books that still have them at minus 13.5. That is my number. I will not go to 14.5 or more. If you can catch them on an even number, I hate it a little less. Keep the push in play. But I think Oregon wins this game, and I think Oregon wins this game big because, Lonzo, style points matter for the Ducks now, right? Because there's a logjam of one-loss teams. And in that logjam of one-loss teams are, of course, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, and there will be a logjam of one-loss teams. And, oh, by the way, at some point, Michigan or Ohio State are going to get added to that logjam of one-loss teams. So if you want in out of that logjam of one-loss teams, style points matter. Oregon goes out and gets some style points this weekend against the Trojans. I like them to win by 17. I'd prefer them at 13.5, 15 or 14.5. If that's where your line is at, isn't awful. But either way, give me the Ducks Let's lock that in. Duke takes on North Carolina. Duke is catching 2 touchdowns. The exact inverse of Oregon on this one. If you can catch Oregon minus 13.5, take that line. If you catch them at 15, I got to think about it. Duke's the exact opposite. I caught Duke this morning at plus 14.5. I have seen a couple of books that still have them listed as plus 13.5. I like having that 2 touchdown number. If you can get them at an even 14, I'm good with that. Duke is going to be the healthiest that they have been in a number of weeks. North Carolina really doesn't have anything left to play for. They are, I think, too far out of the loop to make it to or win the ACC championship as we thought they would be participating in earlier in the season. I don't know if that means that they play down. I do know that the motivation is gone. And oh, by the way, it's a rivalry game. As Lonzo pointed out, on one side you have a
Dork.
On the other side you have another.
Dork.
Give me Duke plus 14. Let's lock that in. I have debated, Lonzo. I'm going to let you decide if this one gets a lock in or not. South Carolina minus 14 over Vanderbilt. If South Carolina plays the way they played against Jacksonville State, they will not cover 14 against Vanderbilt. If they play like they did in the first half of some other games this year, they absolutely will. My gut said absolutely lock South Carolina in at minus 14 over Vanderbilt. It's Vanderbilt. But my brain says, bro, you watched them play last week. You watch that. Debo ain't walking through that door. So, Lonzo, I will let you be the determination here of my money. South Carolina winning by 2 touchdowns plus, yes or no?
Jacksonville State is a whole lot better than you're giving them credit. Vandy is still Vandy.
But is Jacksonville State that much better than Vandy?
I guarantee probably the entire Jacksonville State team is bigger than Vanderbilt.
Man, so you are telling me to lock in South Carolina minus 14 taking on the Doors.
And as I've shown quite a bit on this station from the beginning of when we first opened the doors, I am not good at this, so you probably shouldn't listen to me.
So fade the great one is what he's saying. All right. Utah takes on Washington. The Huskies are minus 8.5 in this one. The Huskies have had some tough games this year. The Huskies, especially as of late, under Michael Penix Jr., have not been the team that they were earlier in the season, but the Huskies are currently sitting at the number 5 spot. The number 5 spot is, as of today, as we have mentioned a number of times, it is a playoff spot. It is a spot that the Huskies can utilize to jump in because somebody's got to lose Michigan, Ohio State. The Huskies put up 52 against USC. They gave up 42 to USC, and I think that has skewed this number just a little bit because I do not think that Utah, without Cam Rising, who had been giant killers, but I go back and look at the teams they beat. Maybe some of them weren't quite what we hoped they were going to be. Washington needs to win by 9. I think they win by 10. Huskies minus 8.5. Let's lock that in. Looking down the college football slate, here's one. Florida State is 14-point favorites over the University of Miami. The same University of Miami team that beat Clemson, who took Florida State to overtime. Now, especially when you were talking about gambling, I warn you, do not fall for the transitive property of football. It can bite you. If A beats B, B beats C, that means A can beat C. Not necessarily, friends. Miami has nothing left to play for but pride. Oh, and hatred. I like the Noles. The Noles are going to win this game. But 2 touchdowns is a big ask, especially when you did not have Johnny Wilson and Keon Coleman last week, which means they got to get back into the groove early. FSU will not explode for points in the first half. They will pull away late, but I like Miami plus 14 in this one. Lock that in. Over on the National Football League side of things, ladies and gentlemen, the Buffalo Bills are laying 7.5 against the Denver Broncos in this one. The Bills over the last 2 years are hitting a cover rate of about 70% after coming off of a loss. Josh Allen and his Bills are coming off of a loss. They got hammered by Joey B, Joey Ice, and the Bengals last week. The Bills are very good coming off of an L with their covers the next week. Bills minus 7.5. I'm laying the touchdown and the hook. Give me the Bills minus 7.5. Let's lock that in. Here's one I'm intrigued by. The Steelers are hosting the Green Bay Packers, and they are only 3-point favorites. There's been some drama going on in Pittsburgh. You got guys like George Pickens complaining about the team, complaining about their pay rate. But the Steelers are inside of my NFL top 7 in the power rankings, which we'll update next Tuesday. I do not for a second understand why the Steelers are only a field goal favorite over the hapless Green Bay Packers. You're telling me I only got to lay the field goal? I'm happy to, ladies and gentlemen. Steelers minus 3. Let's lock that in. New Orleans, Minnesota. Josh Dobbs is playing for the Vikings. They are 2.5-point dogs at home to the New Orleans Saints. The Saints offense 2 weeks ago looked like they were on track, 500-plus yards in a win. Last week against the Bears, the defense generated 5 turnovers, but the offense, once again, just could not get a finish. They won a 1-score game. Josh Dobbs came in 5 days after he became the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings. And Josh Dobbs did not know the numbers and the names of his offensive line. His coach was literally not calling plays in the headset. He was telling Josh Dobbs what's going to happen on the plays. Hey, X is going to run a slant. 9's going to run a this. You were blocking this scheme. Good luck, big dog. And they beat the Atlanta Falcons. So my question here, I'll lay this one at the feet of the great one as well.
You don't want to make the choice on this one. Okay.
I really don't. Like, everything in my heart says Saints win this game by a field goal. They generated 5 turnovers last week. And I think because the story of Josh Dobbs is great, we're all kind of forgetting that Josh Dobbs is a career second or third string backup everywhere that he has been. He broke through as the Cardinals starter this year, yes, where he proceeded to win 1 game. He is now on a team that he will be a member of for less than 2 weeks when he takes on first ballot Hall of Famer Derek Carr and his New Orleans Saints. Everything in my head says the Saints by a field goal is the right play here. But
there's a variable that I don't know of. I believe that Josh Dobbs only wins when his jersey is not available to be purchased. So if Minnesota hasn't made his jersey available yet, I would lean towards Josh Dobbs.
Don't worry, I'll look because I am always looking for that edge. Great one. Kirk Cousins jersey is available.
Oh, you can't find it. You need to worry.
Jefferson, Moss. You can buy a Randy Moss jersey. You can buy a Harrison Smith jersey. You can buy a Fran Tarkenton jersey. You can buy a TJ Hawkinson jersey. You can buy a John Randall jersey. If you want the purple people eater flashback, more words are hard. You can buy a Jared Allen jersey.
Ooh.
You can buy a Cameron Bynum jersey, a Randy Moss jersey. There it is. Josh Dobbs jersey is on the website.
All right, you're good.
Sure is. Saints minus 2.5. Lock it in. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, Benjamin London covers the Georgia Tech Ramblin' Wreck Yellow Jackets for 24/7 Sports. And when we return, we will break down Clemson, Georgia Tech with Benjamin London. That is next on the Rob Brown Show. That's next on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, we're going to step away for a minute to get Ben lined up. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. Oh, what an absolute boat show we got going on. Ben, what's up, big guy?
What's up, guys? How are y'all?
Doing, partner?
I'm good. How are y'all?
I'm good, man. Good. Appreciate you coming by.
Hey,
talk a little
anytime.
football.
Oh, yeah. Up there
Oh.
in Clemson, South Carolina.
Oh, you said it right. Clemson.
Clemson with a P in it.
Clemson.
With a P in it, Clemson.
Oh, yeah. Clemson. It's like
What's the animosity of Tech fans towards Clemson? Is it a rivalry like Clemson fans tell me it used to be?
I think if you ask anybody from Georgia Tech, it's like name me a school that you hate. Georgia's going to be number one. Clemson will be number two.
Number two.
So, yeah, I think that's pretty accurate.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's on the list, top 3. So I know that they're excited about this matchup. So I know Brent Key's excited about it too. So
I like him, man. We had him on at ACC Media Days, dude. He's just an offensive lineman, bro.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, this is what it is. What's your Twitter handle?
At Benji London MSC.
I don't know if I could spell right, not be an idiot. Benji London MSC.
MSC. Yep, that's right.
Beautiful. Gotcha.
I was getting a rallying cry out there.
No, yeah,
I had the guess. You know,
sure.
they play it in the Clemson Stadium.
That's it.
The faux Death Valley.
Joining us now on the radio broadcast, 24/7 Sports, Benjamin London. He covers the Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech. I had the pleasure of meeting him back at ACC Media Days in Charlotte before the season started. He joins us on the program now. What's up, big fella?
What's up, guys? How are y'all doing?
Doing real well, man. I mean, we're getting paid to talk about football at 8:30 in the morning. How bad could life be? You know what I mean?
That's exactly right, man. That's a blessing in disguise right there.
Ain't no disguised about it, pal. We are here and wearing a shirt that looks like this. There's no disguising what this radio broadcast is. Let's talk a little bit about this game. And I, as an outsider, when I got here, I got told, obviously, rivalry number one for Clemson is, of course, South Carolina. When the ACC announced their new scheduling format that goes into effect next year, and Clemson, Georgia Tech was not labeled as one of the protected rivalries, so it will no longer be an annual rivalry, I like half the Clemson fans were like, that kind of sucks. That's an old school, traditional, historical rivalry. I had about half the Clemson fans that were like, don't care. It hasn't been a rivalry in a number of years. What was the Georgia Tech response to that?
I think they were honestly kind of shocked at first and taken back by it and saying, hey, out of all the schools within the ACC, Georgia Tech and Louisville are the only two teams that don't get a protected rivalry. And Georgia Tech, obviously, they have a bunch of good matchups that they have in the ACC that they like to call rivalries. One of them being Clemson versus Georgia Tech, one of them being Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech. And so I think they were kind of upset that they at least just didn't get one out of those two that they would like to play in. But the good news is Clemson will get to see Georgia Tech a good amount of times in this new scheduling format. So it's not like they're going anywhere. It's just not going to be an every year kind of thing. And so I think Georgia Tech fans are okay with it, with how dominant Clemson's been the past couple of years. But now seeing the Clemson now, it's kind of like, hey, it kind of sucks that we're not going to get to play them every year.
Let's talk a little bit about where Georgia Tech is coming from in this game. It's very interesting to me because we have seen some wild finishes like the Georgia Tech Miami game. We have seen some disappointing results like the L2 Bowling Green earlier in the year, but then we've also seen some real good wins like North Carolina. This team is interesting to me. I really like Brent Key. We'll talk about him here in just a second. But Ben, when I look at where this team is, close game against Louisville, they were with Ole Miss for about a half. You beat Wake Forest, you lose to Bowling Green, but then you turn around and beat Miami. You lose to Boston College, you turn around and beat North Carolina. Like, it feels like this Tech team is real good at getting up but like not real good at playing up when they don't have to. Is that kind of what you've seen out of this Yellow Jacket team so far?
In the first half, yeah, I think there was a statistic where it was like, hey, Georgia Tech's just going to win the even games that they have on their schedule and lose all the odd ones. Obviously, they lost the first game, lost the third game, lost the fifth game, and they just thought that trend was going to continue. In the second half so far, when they started off against UNC, they got that win. And then immediately after, everybody was like, oh, well, there's this narrative next week when you're going to go into Virginia that you guys are going to lose. Well, they went into Virginia and dominated Virginia, and you saw what Virginia did last night to Louisville on that Thursday night game for the ACC. So Georgia Tech, I think, is just trying to find their footing and try to find their identity both on offense and defense. And I think they're starting to find that, especially with Haynes King at their quarterback.
We are talking with Benjamin London from 24/7 Sports. He covers the Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech. Talk to me a little bit about Brent Key. We talked to Brent at ACC Media Days this year, and I love the guy because he's just an old school offensive lineman. And after he moved on from the last head coach, it was almost kind of like a full mentality shift with this team away from, we're going to go, contemporary, high fashion, new school football to we're going to try to come out and punch people in the mouth a bunch of times and see what happens. Has that attitude shift kind of taken hold within the program?
Yeah, and I think when you look at Georgia Tech offensively, you see that, hey, this is not just a team that loves to run the football, but they'll beat you in the pass game as well. But they really rely on the run a lot. Obviously, Haynes King, if you've seen his rushing numbers this year, you kind of may be thrown back for a quarterback. You look at Jamal Haynes, who's been carrying the ball a lot. Dante Smith has gotten a lot of great carries. He came out and had a breakout game against UNC 2 weeks ago, and then last week against Virginia had a really good game. This run game especially has been probably one of the highlight keys on the offensive side, and it's been really good to see what Brent Key and Buster Faulkner has been able to dial up and say, hey, this is what we want to do, and Chris Winkie along with that group as well.
Benjamin London from 24/7 Sports. As we go behind enemy lines and talk Georgia Tech Clemson this weekend, it is on the road. Has there been a marked difference in what Georgia Tech's been able to do on the road versus being in the friendly confines of Atlanta, Georgia?
Yeah, there's been some. I mean, obviously, I think they only have one road loss this season. That was at Ole Miss, and we're in which Georgia Tech hung in there for three quarters. I think, when you look at the record overall, Georgia Tech has done fairly well on the road, and I think they want to continue that success. Obviously, you go into some tough environments that you've played in so far on the road, and you want to be able to get another big win in a hostile environment this weekend in Clemson, South Carolina.
There it is. I mean, if you're going to come into the house and put some disrespect on it, Ben London from 24/7 Sports here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Talk to me a little bit about Haynes King. This guy has been a blast to watch play this year. 22 touchdowns on the year, 2,330 yards, and he seems like a cat. And Clemson, by the way, missing two of their starting defensive backs in this game. He seems like a guy that if you key in on stopping the run, if you throw everything you got at a Jamal Haynes, that Haynes King can get behind you and make some noise in the pass game. What should Clemson fans be looking for out of your quarterback?
Yeah, and that's one of the big things that you mentioned is you want to look at Clemson's defense. Obviously, the front seven is probably going to be the biggest key for Clemson going into this matchup. I think what you want to do is be able to stop the run first and then allow Haynes King to open up the pass game. And if you could do stuff like that, you should be able to get stops against Georgia Tech's offense. And that will be a big key going into the game. If you're Georgia Tech, you want to kind of do the opposite. You want to get the run game going early. That way you can challenge Clemson's defense to say, hey, what adjustments are you going to make at the half to stop our run? And then Georgia Tech may allow things to open up in the pass game. So Haynes King has been a very, very good addition to the Jackets this season so far. And I think plenty of people will say they are very happy that he's the quarterback right now for Georgia Tech.
So you guys this year have kind of struggled against the run, giving up about 223-ish yards per game on the ground. Last week, Clemson ran Phil Maffa 36 times in that game for about 200 yards. They did not have Will Shipley available. They get him back, so you kind of get that Thunder Lightning duo, but also a team that has had some struggles with turning the ball over when they've gone to the ground. What is Georgia Tech looking to do defensively to prevent Phil Maffa from having another career day, especially knowing that Shipley is back in the fold this weekend, more than likely?
Yeah, you looked back at the UNC game. Obviously, UNC walked into that game and said, hey, we want to be able to run the football a lot more. And so you saw, if you watched that game, you saw Georgia Tech go into that game saying, hey, we're going to stop the run. And then Drake May opened up the passing game a lot more. They just weren't able to finish the drives off like they wanted to. And so that will be the challenge for them. How good, and you can say this, Drake May is a whole entire different quarterback than Cade Klubnik. No offense to Clemson fans. But, you look and say, hey, if you're able to stop the run, do you want to challenge Cade Klubnik in the pass game? And I think they'll agree. Yeah, we want to challenge him in the pass game. He hasn't been as successful as somebody like a Drake May this season, or a Tyler Van Dyke, or, guys like that in the top of the ACC. So if you want to go in and say, hey, you want to stop the run, let's challenge Clemson in the pass game. And how will Georgia Tech defend that? Well, I mean, you got Miles Brooks, you got Jalen King, you got Miles Sims, you got a couple of veteran defensive backs and safeties that they can rely on to help stop that pass game when they're able to stop that run game up in the front seven. But that's going to be a key, is being able to stop the run, as they've not been very efficient at consistently this year.
Ben London from 24/7 Sports joining us here on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate as we break down Georgia Tech at Clemson this weekend. Tech obviously currently sitting at 5-4, third in the ACC right now with a 4-2 conference record. But I don't think anybody's going to be mistaking Georgia Tech as an ACC contender this year. To me, this year for Georgia Tech, it is about development. It is about finding, building, creating, and then maintaining the culture of what it will take for a program to shift into the next era of football. But man, to me, I got to think, if you're Georgia Tech, you have seen some of the struggles of Clemson this year. Even with the win over Notre Dame, that Notre Dame was the exception to the rest of the Clemson season, not the rule. Does this, I know Brent Key is going to 100% old school offensive lineman give me the only game that matters is the next game, and it matters as much as the last game. But, I got to think, if you're a Tech team looking at this Clemson team that feels vulnerable even after the win over Notre Dame, this has got to be, they've got to know this is the chance to put a banner win up.
Yeah, and Brent Key even mentioned it at the beginning of this week. I think it was on Tuesday when his first press conference was this week. He mentioned, hey, Clemson has been the standard of the ACC for the past decade. And he's like, you can look at the record this year and think what you want to think and say, oh, well, they're not that good of a team this year. They're struggling. They're trying to find their identity, whatever. You can say all these things you want. But they have been the staple of what the ACC football looks like for the past decade. And he's not going to overlook these guys. And it's like you said, Brent Key has always said, it's the next game mentality. You don't want to overlook a game. And I don't think they have. I think last week, you could have overlooked Virginia and you would have saw what happened there. But you didn't. You took care of your business on the road, and then you now prepare for Clemson. And so I think it's very intriguing to see what they'll come out and do to start the football game, whether they want to run it or whether they just want to open up the pass game, whatever they feel like will burn Clemson's defense the easiest. And that's what they're going to look for, because as you saw, Notre Dame's offense relied on the run early, and Clemson shut it down. So what will Georgia Tech do to start that football game to try to get something going? It will be the question for me. And Brent Key, yeah, he's got his guys dialed in this week and make sure it is important in the football game.
We're joined by Benjamin London from 24/7 Sports, talking Georgia Tech at Clemson this weekend. All right, Ben, we got about a minute and a half left. Give me the two things Georgia Tech has to do, one offensively, one defensively, if they want to come into Death Valley and get the upset over Clemson.
Well, I think offensively, like we mentioned, you want to get that run game going against Clemson's front seven. They've been able to stop it against Notre Dame last week. That was a big key factor. But what does Georgia Tech want to do offensively, and what do they want to kind of find their identity in? Because when you look in a lot of games this year, you see that they put their identity in the run game or they put it in the pass game. And it's not been as much as one. There's been more run than there was pass, or there was more pass than there was run? What do they try to find their identity in? For defensively, that front seven is going to be key in stopping Maffa and guys like Shipley, who comes back this week for Clemson. That's going to be a key. And then if you're able to stop the run, what do you do defensively in that back secondary to say, hey, we want to stop Cade Klubnik? So those are the two biggest things I would see for offense and defense going into this game this week.
Benjamin London covers the Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech for 24/7 Sports. And if you would like to follow him on Twitter, you can do so at Benji London MSC. My man, great to have you on the air, buddy. I appreciate it. Good luck to your wreck this weekend. I really think this could be like a real entertaining football contest.
Yeah. Forget the spread. It's not going to be 14 points. Yeah, I can promise you.
Wait. Can I lock that in? Can I go with the Benji London special? Can I lock in GT plus 14.5?
Yeah, buy the money line now.
Like it. Buy the money line now. Man, I got to tell you, bro, you may have to come back on Monday and eat this one way or the other.
It's okay.
My man, I like it. Ben London, great to have you on the show, buddy. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks, guys. See y'all.
You got it. That is Benjamin London from 24/7 Sports. Again, you can follow him at Benji London MSC on Twitter if you want to keep an eye on what the Wreck is doing as they get ready to head to Death Valley and take on the Tigers this weekend. Coming up in the next segment, we are going to have Jarrell Hendricks, John Epps, and Kevin Thomas from the Moving the Chains podcast right here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, step away for just a moment. I'll leave you up.
Thanks, Rob.
I gotta blow my nose again.
Okay, I don't know why you don't just do that on camera. I mean, blowing your nose is just it's a normal human activity. He does sound like an elephant, and I think everyone should get to hear that. But that's me, I suppose. That's what I said, Zach, but I don't see the third one. So, I mean, there's that. I mean, we'll see. But maybe he's on there and it's just haven't paged down. I just, All right, I'm not going to put this on trending, but Smirk Carter is trending. Do you know who Smirk is? Sounds like country. What do you think?
I've never heard
a football
that name.
player.
Before I click it, so you guys don't think it's country? Let's see.
Javon Carter had a smirk. Okay, so it's Javon Carter from the Suns.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why is it trending in music? It's trending in music. No, there is a Smirk Carter.
Oh, okay.
He's a rap artist.
Well, there you go. I'm not hip to the lingo. Kev, how you feeling with your full night's sleep not coming out to watch some country music last night, man?
I feel good, man. I got some company coming in town this weekend. I do some cleanup around the house, that type of stuff. So,
are you really chastising him for not going to
Alabama? That's a Country Music Hall of Fame artist that Kevin could have gone to for free.
Maybe
he decided to stay home. And dust his chandelier over his head,
maybe he feels he has a memory of Alabama and what they used to be, and doesn't want to go and have that soiled by what they are now. Maybe that's
I've seen Alabama probably in the past 3 years or so. I saw them. They're still great, but like you said, Lonzo, it's not really Alabama, I guess, anymore.
More importantly, Kev, you could have stood out on the back patio and had a beer with me.
Now, that probably would have been better. That would have been better than,
That is fun. I've done that too.
John Epps has done that too.
Would recommend.
10 of 10, 5 stars. Somebody Yelp it.
That doesn't sound like that's an unusual thing, though. That sounds like something that could happen every day. If
pretty much could. You pretty much text me and say I'm drinking outside, and I will be there.
every time I wear this shirt, people think it's Clinton. It's not.
Clinton.
It's Marion Franklin from Columbus, Ohio, which is where I went to high school. Because I'm not from here.
Lonzo's a devil.
A Red Devil.
The other Red Devil High School.
Yeah, not them Blue Devils. I don't know which school's been around longer. Actually, I do. I think my school's been around longer. It doesn't really matter. No, then Clinton.
Oh.
I don't know why they can't say their T's, but apparently it's difficult. Actually, I've been there. It would be difficult. That's the first time I ever saw a femme mullet. Went to a bowling alley in Clinton.
A femme mullet.
And there she was. Just over there leaning against a video game machine. It was like that. It exists. I didn't know, and now I know.
I didn't know they had a bowling alley.
Yeah, This was like a decade ago. I'm guessing they still do. She was also pregnant, and which made it even. Yeah, it's stuck out of my head.
The great mullet hunt of 2024 is a go this year.
Yeah, you've said that before.
But I'm leaning into it because I thought about it early this time. Ladies and gentlemen, the only thing better than high school football on a Friday night is playoff high school football on a Friday night. Round 2 of the South Carolina high school football playoffs get underway in just about 10 hours from right now. And joining us now on the show, as they do every Friday throughout the high school football season to talk about it, the fellas from the Moving the Chains podcast, which you can find their website at movingchains.com. No G, because they're like Lil Wayne, just absolute units.
All right. I've been sold a bill of goods. Where's Jarrell, man?
Yeah,
you said all 3.
Where's Jarrell?
Where's Jarrell?
Well, we talked about it, and we're like, hey, I feel like 3 is going to be too many. And Jarrell just drew the short straw.
Wow, you guys gave Jarrell the boot.
Actually, Jarrell gave himself the boot. He's like, I'll just sleep in. Direct quote. Y'all take it, I'll sleep in.
All right. After 4 weeks of waking up at 3:30 in the morning, I do understand that. Just so we're all keeping it a hundy, as the kids say. We got Kevin Thomas. We got John Epps with us here on the show. You can follow them on Twitter and Instagram at Moving Chains. Fellas, good round 1 across the state of South Carolina.
Really good. I mean, obviously you get some 1-4 matchups that end up being blowouts, but overall a fun week of football, man. And this week is going to be just huge matchup after huge matchup all across the state, it feels like.
They are. Let's jump right into them. John, start with you. And obviously, we start with a game you can hear with the sexiest play-by-play guy in the upstate, the Burns Rebels at home tonight. They are hosting the 9-2 Hillcrest Rams. Hillcrest had themselves a fight against Nation Ford last week. They win 37-29. The Rebels had, in my ever so humble but frequently correct opinion, their best showing of the year last week in a 44-17 win over Dorman. It was close until about halfway through the second quarter, and then it was all Burns down the stretch. We'll get into some of the individual efforts, John, but just start with your overall view on Hillcrest at Burns tonight.
You know, a month ago, I would have been salivating over this matchup, and this is still a great matchup, but Hillcrest looks like they may be down their starting quarterback, Caleb Sutton, tonight, which is a really, really big deal. He hasn't had the best year, but he's a very dynamic player, very good with his feet. If he cannot go tonight, it's going to be very difficult for Hillcrest to get this win on the road. For Burns, on the other hand, boy, they are healthy now at the right time. It feels like they haven't been healthy since September, I would say, even then. So Burns playing, as you said, probably their best football of the year right now. On top of that, they're healthy too. I really, really like the Rebels to roll in this one tonight.
Yeah, I think Hillcrest is kind of a tough team to figure out because, like we said, Sutton might be out, and he had started to finally play pretty good football, it felt like, down the stretch. But then with him being out, Hillcrest turns around and they decide to give it to their running back 30-plus times. He sets a school record with 248 last week. So you think maybe, hey, if the Rams want to just get the run game going, play a little keep away from Burns, which would be a great strategy, keeping the ball out of the hands of Stevens and Weaver and Bomar and those guys. This could be a really tight game. Mixing that with a little bit of Avery McFadden outside, maybe a reverse, maybe a quick screen, maybe he breaks one, whatever. I think the Rams have the talent to hang around. I mean, as you remember, Rob, this was a fantastic game in the playoffs last year, a 3-point game. Hillcrest misses a late field goal to tie it. But John hit the nail on the head. Burns is healthy right now. Stevens is playing his best ball of the year, it feels like. 320 plus last week for the Rebs. I mean, that team is flying around. They're looking really good right now.
We are looking at Burns and Hillcrest. You mentioned it a second ago. Thomas Stanley, 248 yards, 3 touchdowns last week. But on the flip side, Andrew Stevens for Burns had easily his best game of the season, 325 yards and 4 total touchdowns last year. Andrew Stevens, I am as a Burns guy, very proud of this cat, because you go back to the beginning of the season and there was discussion about maybe moving Zylandrum into the starting role. Maybe you start having to go with a lot more Wildcat with Kamarius Bomar under center. This kid weathered that storm and has just gotten progressively better. I mean, you go back to Gaffney last week and he was under assault from the Indians, or 2 weeks ago, was under assault from the Indians in the front four and just delivered the football. Last week, had a little bit more time in the pocket and was finding guys down the field. There were probably, I think, 2 passes that were real close to going the other way. He had one down the right-hand side that, 3 inches lower, and I think it's a turnover. And then Dorman had one in the end zone that went, and this was just kind of what the Rebels had going for him. One went through the hands of a Dorman linebacker, came out the other side as a floater, and there was a Rebel there to pick it up and take it in for the score. Andrew Stevens has weathered the storm, fellas, and all of the sudden looks like a very poised quarterback. If you get that out of him tonight, I got to think Burns on paper looks like this is a win for the Rebels.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like you said, Rob, it's great to see that because there was a lot of discussion, even as recent as 2-3 weeks ago about, hey, should we switch quarterbacks or this and that and whatever. But he has stepped up. Man, I think last week may have been Burns' best game of the season. That was a rivalry game against Dorman. I know you already played them, but you only beat them by a 2-point conversion. They failed late in that first ball game. The Cavs did. To come back and put the hammer down last week in the playoffs is really impressive. I think like you said, if he doesn't turn it over, I see Hillcrest having a hard time getting enough stops, and especially with Sutton being out to win this ball game. But really excited to watch all the athletes with McFadden and Stanley and Weaver and Bomar Segura. Should be a fantastic game, but I do like the Rebels in this one.
Fellas, let's jump up to the top half of that same bracket, the 6-5 Dutch Fork on the road at TL Hanna. And, when we started our playoff coverage last Friday, I asked you guys, like, if I had to ask you to put your paycheck on a state champ, who would it be? And you both said, I think actually all 3 of you said, Burns looks like it out of the gate, and the but came from Dutch Fork, even with a 6-5 record, might be a little bit of an illusion there because they're playing better ball, and TL Hanna at 10-1, a team that has gotten their fair share of big wins lately as well. Now those two square off against each other in the top half of the bracket. Can this game be as good of a game as it looks like it could be on paper?
I think so. I think this is going to be an awesome ball game. Now, it could be low scoring. We got 2 pretty good defenses squaring off. Dutch Fork has been playing good defense for years. They've just been overshadowed by the incredible talent they've had on offense. You remember Jalen Hylett now playing for the Giants. They don't have that this year, but that offense is starting to figure things out. And I thought this was pretty interesting. Kevin and I were talking about this earlier this week, how this Dutch Fork team beat TL Hanna in the 2018 and 2020 state championships. And, hey, maybe TL Hanna is looking for some revenge. I follow Dutch Fork on Instagram. They've been putting out a couple of videos this week. One of them was TL Hanna players in the locker room saying, we want Dutch Fork, we want Dutch Fork. And there's a lot of hype on the Dutch Fork side to get to this game. I think Dutch Fork's going to have some juice in this game. They're not going to be the only ones with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, so to speak, tonight at this one. I think it's going to be a really fun ball game. TL Hanna always seems to win a playoff game or two that you don't think they're going to win. this could be that game tonight. I think it's going to be an awesome matchup over in Anderson. I like Dutch Fork. I like their defense to pull this one out. But, I think this would be a great game.
Yeah, TL Hanna has been rolling all year long. One loss early in the season, but they've really, really figured it out since then. KD Patterson at running back is a stud. He's a D1 kid. Had a 6-touchdown game a few weeks back. He's really rolling. But the key for Dutch Fork, like John said, the defense has been great all year. The quarterback John Hunt is back from injury. He's playing well now, getting the ball to Jacob Hamilton and those guys there. And Coach Tom Knotts knows they're pretty good. If you've watched his post-game and pre-game interviews the last few weeks, he's got a little different confidence to him. He can tell they're rolling at the right time. I think the Silver Foxes keep winning. I think they go on the road and win this ball game.
I love y'all saying take the under between two teams that scored 56 and 53 last Friday night. I'm good with it. Let's take a look at a couple other ones. Here's another big one that could impact the Rebels because if they win tonight, they'll catch the winner of Spartanburg JL Man in week 3. Give me your thoughts on that one, fellas.
JL Man's offense.
This is going to be another really fun ball game here.
Give me your thoughts individually of each other, fellas.
Go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, JL Man's offense is explosive with Anderson and McClellan and those guys there. Spartanburg has played great defense all year long, have had some problems scoring points. They played well last week, dropped 30-plus on a pretty good Rock Hill team on the road. I like JL Man and Scoot Watson to get a win here. I think just a little too much firepower. I think they win this ball game at home.
I really like the way Spartanburg's playing. The bugaboo about the Vikings all year has been, man, they can't score points. They can play, they got good defense. It keeps them in every game they play, but they can't score some points. And last week they put up some points. Spartanburg, if they can get that offense figured out tonight, if they can put some points on the board, I think they got the defense to win. But this is an awesome game where you got a really good defense in Spartanburg and a really good offense in JL Man going at it. I'm going to go with Spartanburg with a little bit of an upset tonight, but this will be another really fun ball game to go to in the upstate.
A team that we have not spent a bunch of time on, but maybe we should. And we got a texter who hits us with us every week. Chester at Chapman, the Chapman Panthers, who are the only team to have defeated the Burns Rebels so far this year in not a bit of an upset, in a straight up upset at home. Talk to me a little bit about what Chapman's going to be looking forward to tonight at the house.
Yeah, this Chapman team this is a really gritty team. And the fact that they play this game at home against Chester is a really big deal. Kevin, I know you went to Inman this year and saw that atmosphere. It's a great place for a game. Chapman is legit. I know Burns is not going to be happy about that loss any way you put it, but Chapman is tough. They are very, very good. They've won some big-time ball games. They arguably had the best win in the state, regardless of classification. Chester, on the other hand, awesome team. They got some really good talent. They got some experience on their side as well. They got some kids that have been playing for a few years. They are a really good football team as well. I think Chapman is the better team in this ball game, though. I think they're a little bit more well-rounded as a team. You couple that with the fact that they're at home, too. They're riding some momentum. They're region champs. I like Chapman in this ball game. I think the Panthers are they're going to be a problem down the stretch.
Yeah, I like Chapman a lot. Quarterback Coleman Gregg's my favorite players in the state. He gets it done on the ground and in the air. I think Chester, big physical team. They've had a problem similar to Spartanburg, can't score sometimes. I think the Panthers get it going tonight. I think Rashawn Cunningham, big game out wide for them. I think the Panthers win this game at home.
All right, last one, fellas, and then we'll wrap it up. But Greenville is at Greer tonight. The Yellow Jackets and the Red Raiders should be a lot of fun as well, I think.
Yeah, this would be, the way the regions work out, this will be under the water tower over in Greer. Greenville, though, the favorite in this ball game. I don't know that Greenville has really played up to their potential all year this year with all the talent that they have. But you know what? That talent is still there, and they are still really, really good. It seems like they're starting to put things together a little bit better here toward the end of the season. I think we see a big game out of the Greenville offense. They got a stacked offensive line, Mazia Bennett out wide. I think Greenville puts it together tonight, wins this one at Greer. But Greer, very good season for the Yellow Jackets. Pretty impressive for them to get to the second round of the playoffs this year. LaDainian Martin on the side for the Yellow Jackets. Super outstanding running back. Really fun to watch him play as well.
Greer kind of got, it's hard to say lucky, but they were on the right side of a roughing the kicker call last week to help them move on. If you guys haven't seen that video, it's on our Twitter page. They got to re-kick it and made it the second time. Was it a penalty? I don't know. We'll see. But Greer has some talent on offense with Hall and Bird and Martin. But I think Greenville is starting to play their best ball, it seems like, right now. So I think the Red Raiders get a big win on the road.
John Epps, Kevin Thomas from the Moving the Chains pod. You can check them out at movingchains.com or across all the social media at Moving Chains. Where you boys at tonight?
I'm going to be Fort Dorchester at White Knoll, a big lower state 5A matchup. See the other side of the bracket a little bit.
Down in Lexington County.
Love it. Let's see it. And then, of course, on Twitter, at Moving Chains, they'll do the Friday night breakdown at the end of it, including some special celebrities and guests, and also me. Fellas, have an awesome Friday night, round 2. We'll look forward to seeing y'all next week, round 3, and hopefully the Burns Rebels will be talked about next week, too.
That's the plan. Appreciate you, Rob.
All right, boys. Be good.
Take
John
care,
Epps, Kevin Thomas, follow them on Twitter, at Moving Chains. Lonzo's got a sports flash, and we're back to wrap up the week of broadcasting next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Last night on Thursday Night Football, the Carolina Panthers lose again, 16-13 to Chicago Bear team that started a D2 quarterback. Kicker Eddie Pinheiro has a 59-yard tying field goal, drop yards short, while Bryce Young went just 21 for 38 for 185 yards. The run game made the difference with Carolina rushing for 43 total yards, while Chicago piled up 133. Connor Bedard watch continues in the NHL as a top draft pick recorded his first multi-point game for the Chicago Blackhawks last night. Bedard notched 2 goals and 2 assists in the Blackhawks 5-3 win over Tampa. Tune in tonight at 7 p.m. as the Burns Rebels take on the Hillcrest Rams in the second round of the high school football playoffs right here on the Fan Upstate. I've been to Clinton in a while, Zach. So I was unaware that bowling alley. I only went to that bowling alley one time and decided I would never go to that bowling alley again.
Can I tell you that I don't care how many times you tell me it's Clinton? If somebody from Clinton,
yeah, it's so dumb.
It's
so dumb.
Tell them it's wrong.
Would you?
Yes.
Well, maybe
if you want to go to a town called Clinton.
No, I agree.
The name of the town.
Maybe you should go to Clinton and just walk around the town square. Yeah, they don't really have one.
Remember President Bill Clinton? No, because that's not how you say that. Nice though, man.
You need to acclimate more.
Oh, it came dope. Love that. Love that. Good look. Yeah, well, you're not wearing that for FC Barcelona. The Stones, isn't it? There's a cat in the soccer fan club named Gwen who's from Liverpool, and he talks. He is still Liverpoolian, and it is hilarious to talk football with him.
It's hard to follow.
It's hysterical.
Yeah.
When you get him started on Liverpool and just let him roll, within 30 seconds, you're like, I don't know what these sounds are that you are making. It's a blast.
Hey, that's an intro.
Oh, it is. We have
that's what that.
Thanks for coming by, buddy. I'll come see you after the
show. Bye. He just wanted to be on the stream.
That's fair.
Yeah,
it's a good jersey. Welp. I lied. I said
it still smells like him. I'm not saying.
Man does have a very distinct scent.
No.
That's that new kit smell.
It's the cologne he's wearing. That's it's pretty strong. It is.
Stillman just rolled in because
I'm not being negative, but I can taste it.
No,
so it's. I'm very sensitive to smells.
Stillman just rolled up in here with he got a brand new FC Barcelona kit, but it's the Rolling Stone sponsored kit.
Which he told us about it.
Yeah.
And now we got to see it. That looks pretty cool.
And I know that I need to keep working in radio to make Stoneman money one day because he told me how much that kit cost. And it's like the same price as a ticket to see the Rolling Stones.
Yeah, but you got to work in radio and you also got to be management level. I think that's,
okay, I take it back.
Yeah.
I take it back. I'll take it back. I'll be happy with my free Alabama tickets.
You have to run a station in order to do that stuff.
No, I'm good. I just want to show up, yell loud, and go home. That's all I want to do. Lonzo, turns out we do have an update to the ongoing saga that is Law and Order Ann Arbor.
Wow, it was up a little bit. Yeah, I mean, but it should be because it's
correct. We need people to know. All right, we are here to educate, to inform, to enlighten the people with breaking news of CSI/Law and Order Alarm Ann Arbor. I didn't say the word. I didn't say that.
I know, but it's kind of an alarm. I didn't have the breaking glass, but it's not really. It's not breaking news yet, anyway.
It's not because we don't know what the news is going to be, but we are now getting reports in the most recent episode of Law and Order Ann Arbor that the Big Ten's response to Michigan is expected early this afternoon. Heather Dinich is on the 4-letter right now discussing this with
what do they call that Friday news dump?
The news dump.
Yeah, that's what. So it's not going to happen till 7:30 tonight.
So for those of you that are not in the know, news dump is a term that is affectionately used by those of us in the biz. A news dump is effectively where you take whatever the big news is and you place it at the point in time where the least number of people are actively paying attention to the news. And you do so. This is largely done in politics. It's done in business. And very frequently, when it is news that comes from an organization, it is done in sports. And it is done in order to garner the least amount of attention possible to whatever the bad news is. Now, I don't know that this is a news dump, if this is strategery or not, because you'll remember the Big Ten informed Michigan earlier this week that there was the potential for disciplining to come down. Disciplining? So for some disciplining to come down the pipe today.
You know where they do that?
Boy, we're going to push some disciplining on you.
You know where they do that at?
Cleaning?
Cleaning. That's where they do that at.
Y'all, there is a T in that town name, all right? I am sorry. All due respect to the people in Clinton, South Carolina. But if you want us to call you Clinton,
You don't need to respect that.
then change the town name and take the T out. None of y'all remember President Bill Clinton because that's not how you say it.
I bet people from Clinton
Call him Bill Clinton?
Yeah, probably.
Bill and Hillary Clinton.
I think you could say one thing about them. They're consistent.
Sure. Anyway, the Big Ten told Michigan earlier this week, hey, there's the potential we levy some disciplining on you this week. And, of course, yesterday we told you in the water cooler cheat sheet at 7 a.m. that we do every day at 7 a.m. that Michigan had responded with a 10-page letter back to the Big Ten, or if you're from Clinton, the Big N, apparently, that they were hesitant to let the Big Ten the Big N continue unchallenged because they said, hey, wait a minute, a couple of things going on. Number one, the evidence that you have is not as strong as you think it is. There's maybe some taken out of context. And BT Dubs, by the way, the other schools were doing it too. Here are 2 documents attached to this letter that show that other Big Ten teams had stolen our signs and were spreading them out amongst each other in order to defeat us, the mighty Wolverines of Michigan. Well, I told you yesterday, and I stood by it, and I will go ahead and say it now. I thought that if there was a punishment to come down the pipe to the Michigan Wolverines, I thought that it would happen yesterday. And the reason I said I thought it would happen yesterday was that it would give the Michigan Wolverines, who leave Ann Arbor today, in fact, early this afternoon, according to ESPN.
Maybe not all of them.
Maybe not all of them, to fly to Happy Valley to prepare for their top 10 matchup against the Penn State Nittany Lions tomorrow. I love you, tomorrow. I thought they will give Michigan at least a full day to put together what a game plan looks like without Jim Harbaugh on the field as the head coach. And I still think that that is going to end up being the case. I do not think Michigan levies a 2-game suspension to Jim Harbaugh, at least not one that goes into effect this year. I think, if anything, if there is going to be a suspension levy, they'll go, you're missing the first 2 games in next year.
This is personal, and I know how this sounds, but it's not fair that afternoon show is going to get the breaking news and not us. Because I'm the one who would take the most joy on this entire station out of saying, hey, Jimmy, lay this back behind the woodshed.
I am intrigued to see if this is a discipline in behind the woodshed for Jim Harbaugh today. I'm intrigued to see if they go, yes, it will be a 2-game suspension, but you will serve it next year, as there were violations in place by other schools, or maybe they say there were no violations by other schools, so you will serve it this year, and you will serve it this week against Penn State, next week against Maryland, or if they go, it goes into effect next week against Maryland, and you will be missing the Michigan-Ohio State game. I can't see a world in which the Big Ten decides to let that happen unless they do indeed decide that principle within LE is more important than principle within AL. Keep in mind, the winner of the Michigan-Ohio State game is more than likely going to be the representative of the Big Ten in the college football playoffs.
Hey, Rob, are there odds on this?
There's odds on everything.
On whether he gets suspended 1 game, 2 games, or 3 games?
If you know the right degenerates, you can get odds.
Okay, because I'm going to go with 3 games. Or rest of the season.
Like the including, rest of the regular season?
Including playoffs.
Really? See, that's
sending a message. That's sending a message to every team in the Big Ten. What happens if you do this?
I get it. It absolutely is. But at the same time,
and like as you pointed out, this is putting principle above the money and going, hey, we don't want anyone doing this. So anyone else doing this, we've proven that they cheated. Everyone knows it, and then hopefully the person delivering it snickers a little bit and says, yeah, he didn't know. Yeah, right.
And the interesting part here is that when we talk about principal LE versus principal AL, when it comes to the Big Ten, that is,
I didn't say it because I couldn't spell it. So, I mean,
the reason this is interesting is because as much as this is an opportunity for a punishment against Michigan for cheating. The other thing that it serves as the Big Ten, or for the Big Ten, the other thing that it serves as is a warning shot to everybody else. Like, hey, yo, if you are all indeed doing this and we just have not gotten to you yet, this is what will happen to your squad, if not worse, because infraction number 1 typically involves a lower level punishment. And then as these stack and it becomes more of an epidemic, that's when you start to see the punishment start to increase. So the Big Ten, according to Heather Dinich, is expected to give a response to Michigan later today. The Michigan Wolverines sent a 10-page letter that said basically, hey, I know you want to rush to an execution here and you wish to do so because of the mounting public pressure and the cry outs amongst the rest of the schools in our conference. But number 1, that's a bad idea because you're setting a precedent that may or may not work how you think it's going to work down the line. And number 2, here is the evidence that other people were doing the same thing. So if you kick our legs out from under us, you got to kick the legs out from under everybody. And that's going to cause you a big problem. So I'm going to be real with you. Michigan's the team that got caught, right? The analogy I've used in the past is speeding on the interstate. It is something that there are 2 groups of people. There are the people who speed on the interstate, and then there are the people who say they don't speed on the interstate and are lying. We all do it. There is a marked difference between speeding on the interstate and doing 5 or 10 over versus speeding on the interstate and doing 45 over. If everybody's doing 5 or 10 over, most of the time your friendly highway patrolman is just going to look and go, all right, he may even go so far as to flip the lights on and off real quick, like, bloop, I'm here, just so y'all know. But if you are speeding at 45 over and passing everybody, my bet is you are probably going to be having a discussion with a gentleman in a flat-brimmed hat, right? So, with that being said, if Michigan goes through with a punishment here, or if the Big Ten goes through with a Michigan punishment here, effectively what they're saying is y'all was doing 50 over, everybody else was doing 10, so you got. But here's the other thing. Even if there are 50 cars all speeding at 45 over on the interstate, if there's one cop, only one car is getting pulled over. Now, that cop might radio ahead to everybody else and go, hey, I got a convoy coming in for 45 over.
All right, so that was gibberish on purpose.
Yes.
It wasn't the overmatch.
Yeah, because I don't know what the code is for speeding.
Wow.
Yeah. He might radio and go, hey, we got all these guys. Just keep it up. But what are you doing at that point? You're saying keep an eye out, right? Because if there are 5 of us going 50 over down the interstate and the red sports car gets pulled over, everybody else in that convoy is going to slow down and go, uh-oh, Smokey's out. We got to be careful. The fuzz is watching. And they're going to pull back a little bit. So you got the one, that's the warning to everybody else. And now anybody who gets caught out of that convoy by the next cop's going to be in even more trouble, because it's like, not only were you speeding, but you knew we were out, dog. You knew we were here, my guy, right? So here's what I'm intrigued by. Obviously, I'm intrigued by whatever the Big Ten is going to tell Michigan later today, whether they let them off the hook or not. I'm interested, not excited. I'm interested to see what is going to happen here. But the second thing I'm intrigued by, Michigan is only a 4-point favorite over Penn State on the road. Ohio State had themselves a ball game against the Penn State Nittany Lions. Michigan has got to go to Penn State, unlike the Buckeyes who played that game in Columbus. They were this morning only a 4-point favorite. My question here is going to be, and I hate this because it is such a damn cliche question, but my question here is this a distraction that Michigan will have a tough time putting in the rearview mirror. Because if you are Jim Harbaugh, even if you are allowed to coach this Saturday when the Wolverines are on the road at Penn State, this is a big deal. This is not just a matter of a 2-game suspension. It is not just a matter of Michigan at Penn State. We all have to keep in mind as well, if the Big Ten decides to levy a punishment against Michigan, Lonzo, I'd make the argument that the NCAA would then go, we probably need to do that as well. And if the NCAA brings the ban hammer down, the suspension will not be 2 games. It will be probably in the ballpark of 6+. And if the ballpark suspension is 6+, despite the fact that the NFL as an organization has said, yeah, we're not going to let Jim Harbaugh use us as an escape from his accountability at the college football level, some team would go, we will. We will. The Las Vegas Raiders would say, we will. We'll let Jimbo come back to the league if he wants to coach here. We'll even let him, theoretically, serve an NFL-mandated suspension.
I know she didn't say the Carolina Panthers would be is next up.
Yeah, I don't know, despite a lot of us thinking the Frank Reich experiment has come to its not great end, conclusion, finality. I don't think that Tep's going to move on from Frank Reich after a single year. I could be wrong.
The closest I've found on the call is it's an 1195, which is a routine traffic stop.
We got an 1195 out here and exit 85 right there. That's 385 north. We got about 15 more cars heading your way northbound right hand lane. Which you go, something's all over.
There's like hundreds to go through. So
eastbound and down roll. And by the way, I am being an absolute and entire smart right now, just so we're all clear. So,
but if the NCAA does step in, it is a certified trip for Jim Harbaugh to the NFL.
I don't know, because I still don't know, because the NFL has sent out some signals here that they're not going to let Jim Harbaugh utilize the NFL as a harbor from the storm brought upon himself at the NCAA level.
Harbor. It's hard.
But if you are Jim Harbaugh, I would suspect that the wheels are turning. Right? You can say all you want. I'm staying focused in. We got to go out and win this game against Penn State. I am dialed in on Michigan and Penn State. And that is all well and good. And I hope that it's true. But I will tell you, as any of us who work in this very volatile industry that we have all elected for some wild reason to stay in for this long, when you get to a point, you change PDs or GMs or formats or whatever, when it comes down the line, a situation that your job is potentially on the block, right? Not even that it is. There's a possibility your job is on the block. You may say I am as dialed in on this here radio program as I can possibly be. The reality is you ain't. You ain't. There is some part of your lizard brain back there in the back of the old skull casing that is going, you're about to be unemployed. You're about to be unemployed. You are about to be unemployed. And you're thinking about that. So, my question here is, does this throw Harbaugh and the boys off enough that they could go on the road? Because here's the thing, Lonzo. I believe if they lose to the Penn State Nittany Lions this weekend, kind of solves a lot of problems for the Big Ten. They can just hammer the suspension after that, because Harbaugh going to Ohio State with Michigan in the last week and not being the coach means you're much more likely for Ohio State to win, have an undefeated season, win the Big Ten, and the Big Ten has their championship team, and they get to go, hey, look, everybody, we hammered Harbaugh.
Yeah, because that's what everyone wants to say. Penn State refs. I wonder what kind of crew do we have this weekend? Tim Donaghy. Who else is available?
Tim Donaghy. There's a name. That's a name I've not heard in a long time.
apparently he's been let out of prison early for work release. That's what it is. Work release.
Good Lord. All right, we got to run to a break. Anyway, Heather Dinich from ESPN reporting that the Big Ten will respond to the Michigan Wolverines later on this day. And we'll obviously have all that breaking news for you as it happens on social media. Make sure you tune in this afternoon to Offsides with Mark, Ryan, and Diesel at 3 p.m., as I am beyond sure, that they will have this news and what it means for this weekend's game on Offsides. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. It's the Fan Upstate.
And it'll be blamed on Ohio State because, there's hate there.
Sit in the corner in a Crown Vic and point a hairdryer.
You should do it.
All right, be right back, dudes. All right, we back.
Should I just leave that playing really low? Well, he's went totally against what I said. So, have you guys ever watched a movie or a TV show where they pump gas into a room and slowly the people are trying to make it to the door? I just had that experience. Don't go in there. I'm queasy right now.
Need hazard pay.
It's thick.
It's thick.
No, it's thick.
Could you taste it?
No, I still got Stoneman's cologne in there as a buffer. It's I'm serious, dude. I feel a little nauseous right now. When you walk into a room and go, no, I really gotta pee, but I don't have my keys with me. I should run downstairs. Also, if you should happen to be watching right now, whoever did the deed, congratulations on evacuating that. You've got to feel better after that. It's CSI Michigan, Keegan. Where you been?
Keegan, am I correct in that it is your birthday today?
Yeah, I wished him a birthday on Facebook earlier.
Keegan, happy birthday, friend. Keegan is not just a P1. He is a genuinely good dude, good person, and a fantastic friend and human being. And I mean that more than I've meant anything else. Happy birthday, buddy. Thank you for being a friend.
You're not going to continue, are you? Driving down the road and back again.
You're a friend and a confidant. Keegan, if you throw a party and invite everyone you know,
Keegan is one of the few people that I met that I just, started talking to because I know him from the stream, and it's just like I'd already known him for a while. So there's that. That's a compliment from me. Trust me.
It's my daughter's second birthday. She gave me a gift this year. pink eye.
Wow.
As someone who's had pink eye in the past, that sucks a lot.
By the way, James, do you know it was a hit on the radio before it was a theme song? I know that because I'm old.
Pam Tillis opened last night for
Wait, Pam
Alabama.
Tillis was there?
Uh-huh.
Okay, you didn't talk about
Pam
that.
Tillis opened for Alabama.
She's like 63.
That's what she opened with.
Did she?
Uh-huh. It was amazing.
Okay. Was it amazing, though?
It was amazing.
Did she sing better than Alabama?
And by the way,
Was her dad there?
Pam Tillis is still a smoke show.
Come on. How old is she? She's got to be 60 something. I'm not saying you
She
can't look
looked
good old.
Great. Pam Tillis is 66.
I went 63. I was close.
Smoke show. Thank you for being.
And why
a
do people
friend.
get mad when a good song is said and stuck in their head? I mean, it's not like it's a bad. It's not like it's the "I Love You" song from Barney or something, or Baby Shark, or
DJ Chuck do 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 DJ Chuck do do
or something by Creed.
Not falling for the bait. Not this time.
Is it bait? Hey, did you know they're coming to town next summer?
Sure did. Already got the tickets. Can't wait. In fact, probably sleeping in Keegan's front yard after that show, as a matter of fact.
Sleeping, or
Yes.
or someone would think you were
pass out
asleep.
and then you sleep through it.
Is that how that
Yes.
works? Okay.
Yeah, we're going jorts and Four Locos on that day. Just full Florida man. All right, I was going to do a bunch of NFL here. Take a look at a bunch of different games going on this weekend. But instead, I'm going to do two other things. The first thing I'm going to do is wish friend of the show, Keegan. He is the official photographer, videographer, chaplain, moral compass of the radio program. Wish Keegan a happy birthday. So happy birthday, big dog. Thank you for being a friend.
Are you going to sing happy birthday to him?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
That is my
All right.
birthday gift to him, is that I'm not going to sing.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so happy birthday.
You know, the coolest birthday wish I ever had someone sing. I had someone sing happy birthday to me in Italian on this very radio program.
Hey.
It was, you have no idea. It was great. It really was. It was good.
The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a quote and then make a statement. Actually, I'm going to make a statement and then read you a quote. Let me begin with the statement. Lonzo, you and I had a discussion back in the first hour of this 4-hour radio extravaganza. Wow, words are hard. That is the Rob Brown radio
Every
program.
time you say my name, I think it's a trap.
It's not.
Okay.
Because I'm going to repeat a thing that you and I agreed on earlier, which is
okay.
There
was only one thing, but apparently,
it's the one thing that I care about right now. You and I agreed that there is a point at some point between here and the end of the football season that the Carolina Panthers should bench Bryce Young. And it is not because of his performance. It is because of his performance, but it's not because of his performance. It is to protect him, both physically and emotionally, psyche-y, maybe spiritually, from the rest of this Panthers roster.
Yeah, because that sort of thing can break you in all kinds of ways.
It really can. And I have decided, Lonzo, that the point in the season that I would bench BY is freaking next week. Because, let's play the Rob Brown Show Home Edition. Pencils up, kids. Who do the Carolina Panthers play next Sunday, Lonzo? Do you know off the top of your head?
I'm guessing it's someone with a really good defense.
The Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, no, see, I thought it was going to be somebody with a really good defense.
The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, you said it again, and I still am not hearing it.
Okay.
The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, it's because distorting makes it more clear.
The Dallas Cowboys do have a very good defense. More importantly,
Do they, though?
More importantly, though,
I'm already in trouble. I'm just trying to make it worse.
they have a cat over on the other side of the football field who goes by the name Micah Parsons.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, you should, because he is a quarterback murderer. He likes nothing more than to end the evening of opposing quarterbacks early. He is a monster. Yes. Not sarcastically, dong. Big dong. Biggest dong. It is the biggest dong of the year. It is a giant dong. A whopper of a dong. Micah Parsons is going to destroy Bryce Young. So here's the thing. I am concerned about Bryce Young's confidence. We already said that. First hour of the show. My biggest takeaway.
So you're not concerned about his health?
Oh, let me get where I'm going.
Okay.
You might catch me. One more and you've caught me.
It's not, because I just
One
want,
more
I
and
will
you've
not,
caught me.
I'm going to turn my mic off and not talk for the next half hour.
Worst week of my career, and one more of those, you catch me.
I do not. You had like 6. I've had
You
like,
opened at 4. I have gotten to 6 today.
I did not have 4.
You did. You had 2 in one segment on Monday.
All right. I forgot about that.
All right. So I am worried about Bryce Young's confidence. And as Lonzo pointed out, and the more I think about it, the more I think he might be right. I said he was underthrowing a lot of footballs last night, in large part because he has been ingrained to assume he's going to die every time there's a pass rush. And so it has prevented BY from doing what, a quarterback needs to do: snap, get on the back foot, load up, drive through the throw, and deliver the football. He is not able to, right now, load up on the back foot and deliver the football. Lonzo said, wait a minute. Is there any chance that some of these were underthrows because he's terrified of getting pick sixed again? And my answer is, yeah, there's a very good chance that that is absolutely correct. And if that is the case, it means his confidence is already shaky. It's already wavering. And if it's already wavering, what is it going to be like when Micah Parsons is breathing down his neck? What is it going to be like when the QB killer is on the loose coming after him? What's it going to be when DeMarcus Lawrence gets off the outside? What's it going to be knowing that even if all that goes great, he's got a lurking Stephon Gilmore in the secondary to load up against and throw the ball against his number one receiver? Not great, Bob. Not great. So I am at the point now where I'll say, and I will repeat this all week next week, the correct coaching decision for Frank Reich and Thomas Brown and the Carolina Panther offensive head coach and OC next week is to put Bryce Young on the bench. I was going to say Brent, which is a combination of Bryce and bench, I guess. Put him on the bench and let Andy Dalton go out there, because here's the reality. And I'm sorry to say this because I am, and I mean this, a Red Rifle fan. But as much as I am concerned about Bryce Young's psyche, confidence, spirit, you know what I'm more concerned about? His friggin' rib cage, his sternum, his clavicle, his tibia and fibia, I don't know, whatever. I am concerned that behind that offensive line and in front of that Cowboys front seven, Bryce Young might get donged in the worst way. All right?
I don't know which one to play.
Both. This game's in Charlotte. This game could be played in Dallas. It could be played in Eurasia. It could be played on the moon. The Dallas Cowboy front seven against the Carolina offensive line is going to be complete, total, entire, uninterrupted assault.
How cheap do you think the tickets are for Sunday?
They might be free.
I'm just saying, it might be time to roll up to Charlotte. I mean, you know.
Ladies and gentlemen, the official fight song of Bryce Young if he plays next week against the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be bad. And while I, yes, am very much concerned, sincerely, genuinely, thoroughly, and entirely concerned for the confidence in the psyche of Bryce Young, I am more concerned about him physically as a person behind that offensive line. If Carolina had a good offensive line, I'd be like, all right, let him roll out there. It might suck. He might get banged up, but what I need him to do is stare down the teeth of one of the better front sevens in the NFL and figure out how the hell he's going to answer, but not behind this offensive line. Not behind an offensive line that allowed the Indianapolis Colts, maybe the worst defense in the National Football League, to eat his lunch for 60. I can't do it, man. I can't do it. Set him down. Let him take a breather. Hey, man, listen, things aren't necessarily going our way right now. And here's the thing. You know who the next 3 teams, 4 teams, 5 teams in a row the Panthers play? The Titans, the Buccaneers, the Saints, and the Falcons. Bryce, we believe you can beat those teams. We believe you can beat those teams.
Who's telling them this?
Me.
Oh, okay.
They lost to the Saints by a field goal.
This is not the same Bryce Young he was back then. He just took a turn the other way.
I think the team has taken a turn. Again, this is not all hung on the neck of number 9. This is on the squad. The squad's bad.
Yeah, but, being the QB, you get the good and the bad. So it's all his fault.
No, it's not. And I'm not having this argument again because it's not right. It's not how it works. There's 11 guys out there. 10 alongside him. The Cowboys are not a winnable game for the Carolina Panthers.
Not have you put, bad whatever on special teams. Because the special team, I know Eddie missed that long field goal, but he should have never took that. They ran one back for a touchdown yesterday, Rob. And the punter is excellent. So it's not the entire team. It was okay. It was a pretty run back for a touchdown.
I will give you
it was beautiful.
Special teams.
Without
as long as you're within 50 yards.
Without that, all they have are field goals.
So the Dallas Cowboys are not a winnable game for the Carolina Panthers. I am, call me a coward, waving the white flag before that game starts. Andy Dalton's going out there. I am sincerely apologetic to Andy Dalton, but Bryce Young's more important than you. You get to be the sacrificial lamb that we sacrifice to DeMarcus.
That is not how you approach Andy Dalton, though. You tell him, hey, man, we need a veteran presence. We need you to get out there and pull this thing together because it's falling apart, as you can see.
Whatever.
And show the young guy what you do in the face of adversity.
Andy Dalton's not an idiot. He's going to know exactly what's happening.
He is a villain.
You're not our starter. You're not our franchise guy. We need somebody to go out there and face Micah Parsons that if he dies, and that's you.
No.
Yes.
He means figuratively on the field, not actually.
No, I mean maybe literally.
No.
I mean Micah Parsons may literally kill whoever's playing quarterback. I mean that.
No, he'll stare into Andy's soul and realize he doesn't have one. And then he'll freak out and he'll let up.
I'm not here for the ginger hate. All right. I'm not.
Oh, I am.
So
100%.
So if I am the Carolina Panthers, Andy Dalton's getting the start, BY's getting benched, and I'm going to tell Andy, hey, man, look, we want you to go out there and show us how it's done the right way. Okay, I'll go with Zoe on that. And I'm telling Bryce Young, here's the deal, my dude. We're good enough to beat Tennessee. We're good enough to beat Tampa Bay.
Are they, though?
We're good enough to beat New Orleans.
What a line all that is. No, maybe New Orleans.
Yes, they're good enough to beat Tennessee.
No, they're not.
Tennessee,
you go home. You go home and watch that game.
Oh, did y'all just hear Lonzo crack a little bit?
Yeah, you go home and watch that game. See if you have the same attitude. Yeah, exactly. Nobody wants to Charlie in the box. You go home and watch that game.
I would say they've got about a 1 in 3 chance to beat Tennessee.
1 in 3.
That's good enough to win. That's good enough to win. So I would go 1 in 3.
Will Levis is going to destroy that defense.
And again, it also depends on what the depth chart and the injury report looks like, because it could be real bad and it might not be. We'll see. Brian Burns is probably back next week. CJ Henderson probably back next week. We'll see. All I know is, regardless of how you want to dress it up, regardless of what garland you want to hang on it, you were just talking. Don't what
I've been doing it for a while. Yeah. I've been doing that thing, for a while.
We got to take a break. Don't let Bryce die. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
You don't want to decide you're going to keep talking. What am I? Well, anyway.
You responded to me. I got to respond to the response.
Sorry, Rob. No, you take a break. I'm not going to answer your question.
Oh, that'll be a good game. I wish I could watch it.
Well, I hope you don't have the opportunity to watch any of that for a few weeks. So there. Winless away from home for 5. Oh, it's just, dude, they've won one game. That means they're pretty much winless everywhere. Home, away, neutral site.
Yo, Dawn Staley is my homegirl. I love her.
By the way, why are you chastising me on my voice cracking? I mean,
I was wondering if you were going to say anything.
Yeah, I think we're all having that problem right now.
I'm sure. I was pointing out that was the most energetic you've been about a point.
Why can't I look at my page when someone comments on it without having to switch to the page?
Oh, I hate that.
So comicbook.com put out a thing that said Marvel's director Nia DaCosta doubles down on Infinity War being Captain America's fault. They lost because of Captain America.
I saw that.
And that's
not what she said. She said that
they lost because of Star-Lord.
I read this morning.
They lost because of Star-Lord.
No, because again,
the gauntlet was off.
I understand.
It was off. He was the bad guy of that entire thing.
Doctor Strange said, "There's one way this works," so that had to be part of the plan. So the attitude was, remember, Cap said, "There's no way we can do this without sacrificing someone," or excuse me, we're not going to sacrifice anyone. We're going to find a way to do this without sacrificing somebody. And it turned out that was 100% incorrect. Somebody had to go. It's the only way it could have worked. Doctor Strange told us that. So everybody's getting real mad because she's throwing Cap under the bus, but she didn't say we lost because of Cap. She's saying we lost because Cap refused to go down the path of allowing someone to be sacrificed.
You could also blame Thor for not going for the head. I mean, there's a lot of things, but to me, Star-Lord is the reason why. You don't get to that level. You don't even make it to, if he doesn't go nuts about Gamora, and then we have an entire movie after that about the fact that Gamora is not Gamora anymore. It just
Really?
We were talking about it and someone posted that. Just right. You finally look at it.
Rude.
Wasn't me that did it.
Oh, rude.
That just shows you that at least one other person thinks the way that I do. They kept showing him last night next to Lyman, just like before he went out of the tunnel, and they're like all up here, and it's like bring your kid to work day. This was.
Wrapping up the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Great to have you, Rob Brown and the Great Alonzo with you. It is Friday. Friday! Want to remind you that coming up tonight, whoa, the Burns Rebels are at home, round 2 of the South Carolina High School football playoffs. They will host the Hillcrest Rams. The winner moves on to take on the winner of J.L. and Spartanburg next week in round number 3. The winner of that game will move on to the state semifinals, where they'll take on the winner of the top half of the upper state 5A bracket. You win that, and on December 2nd, the state championship takes place on the campus of SC Upstate. Looking very much forward to the progression.
Wait, so it's right up here.
It's right up here.
Wow.
That's a fact. I can't wait, man. I am looking forward to it. But you gotta get by the Hillcrest Rams. Last year, Burns was a favorite against Hillcrest. They had to go to Hillcrest, and it was a game, bruh. Like a real good game last week. And or last year, pardon me. Hopefully Burns is gonna get it on tonight. I mean, they had easily their best game of the year last week at home against Dorman. So I'm really hoping they can just roll that momentum forward into tonight's contest. Offensively, they were unbelievable, man. They were unbelievable. So I'm interested.
So you said the wrong site, according to Joe. It's
SC State. And then I said SC Upstate. Yeah, SC State.
You did. Yeah. And I mean, you just.
Well, that's what I get.
He just did that to mess with me. Okay. And he got me. You got me. Sorry, you guys weren't on the joke. He was just
that was it.
Me.
100%. That was it. So we will have that game for you live. Pre-game starts at 7. Kickoff starts at 7:30. As far as college football goes, Lonzo, prediction: Vanderbilt v. South Carolina. Final score.
Ooh. Final score. 32-14 Gamecocks.
A cover. I like that. Give me.
Well, I clocked it earlier. Locked it, so I got to go with that. I got to be consistent.
I am going with South Carolina 27-24. It's going to be close, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I hope I'm wrong. I don't like it. I think Vandy kind of got the playbook last week. I think offensively, South Carolina, Xavier Legette's going to have a day. He might have every point that this team scores. But outside of that, again, defensively, Vanderbilt is right there, I think, right around Jacksonville State. Diddy just texted in, said 34-31 Gamecocks. South Carolina defense makes Vanderbilt look good.
All I can say, you guys are all miserable.
We're all miserable.
You are all miserable. Stop it.
Clemson, Georgia Tech, Zoe. I am going to go Clemson wins it. It is also a close one. I think a bit more points on the board. I am going to say 35-30. The Tigers knock off the Yellow Jackets, but I think they're going to be sweating at the end of this one.
All right, so they learned something last week, and that's, keep the ball away from the quarterback, use the running game, play really good defense. They're going to continue to play really good defense, but I don't believe that they're consistent in their coaching or their play. They haven't been all season long. I'm going to go an upset by 1.
Upset by 1.
And I usually, believe it or not, I usually don't pick Clemson to lose, but I think upset by 1.
Score.
I'm going to go 21-20.
21-20. The Ramblin' Wreck of Georgia Tech taking the dub over the CU Tigers, says the great one. Diddy also says, I'm not miserable. I'm grumpy.
I don't think you can be grumpy and not be miserable.
I think misery is like the state of overall life. Grumpy is a temporary status.
Yeah, but at that moment when you're grumpy, you're miserable. Unless you like being grumpy.
I don't
If you like being grumpy, then you're not miserable.
I think grumpy is I think miserable is like an entire life thing, whereas grumpy is a temporary status, right? Like I'm grumpy at 3:45. Doesn't make me a miserable person. I'm just grumpy at 3:45.
I think you've been grumpy all week, but
I've also been right all week.
And you've been staying out too late all week. And then you get to do it again tonight. At least you have to sleep in tomorrow. So there's that. We haven't reached a point where we can complain about sleep because we wanted this. We absolutely wanted this.
Still do.
And we're so glad to be here.
Still do. I just don't. Why can't we start concerts at 6 p.m.? I'm a boomer now.
Old man.
They started that show at 8:15 last night.
I bet boomers stayed out later than you back in the day. So I don't know if you can go with that.
I'm going to drink a lot of beer tonight, Jim. Budweiser.
You know what? Millennials are old people now too.
We are. Hey, let's wrap up the show. What is?
That's me hitting the wrong thing.
We got some Alabama on the radio.
Wow. What a consistent day for me.
Yeah,
all right. So what the X is going on? No, that's not a mic. That's just
for the tie.
That's just I'm almost done with the show. Now I can go be in trouble. All right. The first thing Xing is Vince McMahon.
Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Why was Vincent Kennedy McMahon trending? I don't know.
Selling them shares. Selling a bunch of shares.
Oh, because he's out. Like, we know that now.
Yeah,
like,
he's selling a bunch of shares. So
good. Bye.
Yeah, you're not gonna let me be in charge. I'll just sell my
stuff. I'll show you.
Yeah. All right. The next thing that's Xing is the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Wow. I'm assuming this is this date situation.
Why, yes, it is.
I assume that it was the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald up in Lake, don't tell me, Superior.
I believe it was Superior.
Lake Superior, one of the most notorious American shipwrecks of all time, led to a fantastic story-style song from Gordon Lightfoot, which if you are the type of person that can be moved by music, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald's a great one. Let me tell you, last night, Alabama sang a song called Angels Among Us, and the lights went out on the stage and the people put not lighters because it's 2023, the camera flashlights up in the air, and everybody started singing that song. Y'all, I say this and I mean it. If you don't have that in you, where when you see 8,000 people come together in a moment because of a song, Frisian at its finest, dudes. It's the best.
All right. I'm color me shocked because of the subject matter of the song and that you were moved by it. So I'm just
human emotion.
I have more stuff, but I'm done.
Human emotion through music, regardless of personal beliefs and opinions. When people connect over the universal language that is music, I don't care what it's about. It is about that connection and that emotion, and that's fantastic.
What if they connect over yell leaders?
We all hate yell leaders. We all hate those dorks. Absolute dorks. Dork. We got to go. Have a great weekend, everybody. Don't drink and drive. I'll punch you in the face. See you back here on Monday for a new rousing rendition of the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate later. Yeah!
Sorry, Jacob. I saw it late. You just trying to make him even more miserable. That's what you're trying to do.
Oh man! All right.
Told you. Oh no, he just took the sunglasses off. Now I could actually read the text.
That's part of it. Be less miserable if Clemson would do the Clemson Boomhauer impression. Daggone Tigers. All right, kids. I gotta go do stuff. See you tonight for Burns Rebels High School football.
Hi, I'm Chop Liver.
I mean, you can hang out and talk to the stream. I'm leaving.
Well, I mean, you could have said we, but I mean, it's fine.
Are you doing Burns Rebels football tonight?
No, but I do have stuff to do. You made it sound like exclusively you're the only one.
Have to go do a bunch of stuff, and then I have to go do Burns Rebels football.
Yeah, I'm going to go see Marvels.
Yeah, exactly.
If I still have a job.
Y'all have a great weekend. Thank you very much for hanging out. Tell your friends about us. You're all the best. Collectively,
Even you, Kevin.
Even you, Kevin. Collectively, the best. Have a good one. Goodbye.